Welcome to Deep Drinks Podcast, where the drinks are deep and the conversations are deeper. Hey, welcome everyone to Deep Drinks Podcast. This is a very exciting episode. I think everyone knows why. If you can look, but we're going to introduce the guest straight away because I just need to celebrate with somebody. So first of all, my guest is Miss Lemon. So why do some of us fall so strongly for conspiracy theories, cults, and con men? Miss Lemon is a content creator and teacher currently living in South Korea. Miss Lemon's content is, among other things, focused around social studies, psychology, and beliefs, along with a few food challenges. Miss Lemon is currently completing her master's in psychology, plays a half-orc in Dungeons & Dragons, and is a radically good critical thinker. So with that said, I'd like to welcome Miss Lemon. Welcome to Deep Drinks Podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me on. I'm super excited for you too.
Well, I said I wanted to bring you on because it feels weird to be just celebrating by myself while you're like in the back room. But
totally.
We just so everyone is aware, this morning I went on a panel to kind of promote this new my channel a little bit, and it blew up this channel in subscribers. And many of them are here right now. So I mean, thank you everyone for coming along. It's really it really don't want to get emotional, but it overwhelmed me with happiness. So if you can see the little thing at the bottom, we see you got the 1,000 subscriber charity stream. So when we had Faye on, it looked like this, and then Jenna, and then Michael, and then tonight's episode, we have blown it out. We have blown it out of the water. Thank you so much to Derek from Myth Vision Podcast and everyone who came onto that panel, and Dr. Josh for helping me set up everything. It's been absolutely overwhelming, and I am so grateful. I hope I can be the best host possible. The reason this was important, which I'll explain later, and the reason I went on this panel is because it was kind of a promotion panel for a panel that we will be disclosing that many of you may already know about, that we'll be announcing later in this stream. That was such a big kind of so it was something so big, and I knew that we're going to get such a large audience for it that I wanted to have the ability to get super chats so that I could actually find questions that were relevant to the panel. So it was hugely beneficial. So thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you everyone for coming out to this different time that we normally do it. We're both in the Southern Hemisphere, so we can be up at a reasonable time doing this instead of like 6 a.m. So. Hey.
Yeah, we're over here in this side of the world, a little north of the line for me, but the southern of the Korea Peninsula at least. Yeah, so I've got the winter, you've got the summer. So
yeah,
got my cold hands.
Yeah, exactly. We're boiling down here. Like we have the aircon on like all the time, like 24/7. And because I love the cold, I hate the heat. But so Miss Lemon, first before we jump into it, what are we drinking today?
We are drinking non-alcoholic beer. David was kind enough to oblige, so thank you very much for that. I've got a Cozell. Go ahead.
We do non-alcoholic beer sometimes. Non-alcoholic beer is good.
Yeah, some people are weird about it. I don't know. So I still, when you stop, you had you got people that they treat you a little different.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not. That's all right. I'm the same, sober and drunk, and the benefit of me and my chronic migraines sometimes slurring my words anyway. So there you go.
Awesome.
Get the full effect.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So let's crack it open and celebrate your 1.01K. Well, cheers to that. What's it?
Thank you.
Cheers, big ears. I know
that's it. That's an Australian term. So we went from like 600 subscribers or 650 subscribers to over 1,000, and it's just it's been overwhelming. It's been yeah, I honestly, I've been grinding so hard in the last like few days putting together this panel. Every waking moment when I'm not taking care of our new baby boy Atlas has been focused on making sure I can be the best host I can be for this panel and putting together information and things like that. So I'm super excited. I should probably, you know what, I've talked so much about this panel. Let me just before we jump into the interview, let me just actually find let me just get the trailer ready so and show everyone what's going on. Thank you everyone for your congratulations. So I have well, actually, I say this, I do know how I pulled it off. It was Dr. Josh. So everyone knows we want to do panels this year. We want to have panels on Deep Drinks podcast. And I messaged Josh and I said, Josh, like, I'm so sick of seeing these slavery apologists coming around and making slavery look okay. It kind of bothers me that people like, can you come on and we'll just focus on just a stream purely on slavery, like the go-to resource. And he said, do you want me to bring Kip on? And I was like, oh no, I like to have one-on-one interviews on Deep Drinks. And I thought, hang on, no, we're going to be doing panels. And I was like, yeah, let's do a panel. All of a sudden, Dr. Josh is making like calls for me. He's doing the rounds, and we have the dream team, the panel of experts, of 5 Bible scholars, all PhDs, talking about slavery, and we'll be addressing all the apologists that people can mention on this. So here's the teaser for this. So I put that together quickly, and because I wanted to just promote it. But this will be the go-to panel for slavery in the Bible, and we'll be talking about what was this kind of slavery that was in the Bible? Was there slavery in the Bible? Was it just indentured servitude? Was it like happy slavery where you get tickled before you go to bed and like you can leave whenever you want? We'll also be directly addressing the works of Jordan Peterson, Frank Turek, William Lane Craig, GotQuestions.com, Mike Winger, John McRae, Alan Parr, Paul Copen, Douglas Wilson, and Answers in Genesis. We are going to have answers for each one of their sloppy, the sloppy apologetics. So, with all that said, thank you again, Miss Lum, for coming on. I know this is sorry about the self-promotion.
No,
I'm just so excited.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So
for sure.
So we met. How did we meet? We met on Twitter, right? When someone said something about D&D, and I said that I'm a half orc, and you said me too.
Yeah.
I said,
finally, yes.
Finally.
It's got to be it, man. I like to play a half orc bard. So that's
nice.
Yeah, because I figure if I already get the bonuses to strength, I could just pummel something anyway. I don't need to be a barbarian on top of it. I may as well get some music going.
Yeah,
tell a tale and have fun with it.
Are you? I promise this stream isn't about Dungeons and Dragons. We will be getting conspiracy.
No, it is. If you've been tricked, that's what it is.
Are you in a campaign at the moment, playing Dungeons and Dragons in a campaign?
Oh gosh, it's been about a year or so. Unfortunately, yeah, it's hard. There's actually almost I've never seen tabletop for Korean players. A lot of stuff is here is like exclusively esports, but even like when you go to a gaming shop and you think there's going to be like a table where people are painting minis and stuff, nah, it's just not there. They sell minis, really? But yeah, it's it's something. You got like I don't know that you'll get these blind boxes and stuff for like Pokemon and great, which is great. I do Pokemon as well. If you guys want to add me on Pokemon Go, let me know. All right. But yeah,
I play Pokemon Go. This is so good. Nerding out. This is so.
That's it. Perfection. Yeah. You've been tricked. Conspiracies. No, it's just a bunch of gaming and nonsense. But yeah, I mean, if you want to do that, that's there. There's some paint that they sell. That's kind of it. There's no there's no table. There's no Magic the Gathering. There's nothing. Which, by the
Oh,
way,
wow.
we know the red deck and the black deck. We know those are the best decks. So my stupid goblin and wall deck.
I never got into Magic the Gathering. I want to.
Was it too satanic?
No, it was. I got into
Okay.
Yu-Gi-Oh, and I like chose that route.
That's like the wrong starter Pokemon.
Yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like PC, Mac, and Linux. It's like I chose Linux, but like if Linux had none of the good programming,
right, yeah, exactly. And bad animation.
So yeah, so in another life, I was a game developer. I still teach game development in another kind of realm. I haven't done it for a while, but yeah, we could nerd out for ages on games, and we might do that in this stream. Who knows?
We might end up doing
these non-alcoholic beers might actually be alcoholic, but probably not.
I mean, there's a little bit in there. I don't know. Maybe you're tired enough to be a lightweight. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about conspiracy theories, and I wanted to get your perspective on them, because on your channel, you actually go through the psychology of a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, that's a recent video I did, and I love doing this master's degree thing. I had no idea about it. Nobody in my family has done any like secondary, like post-secondary, none of that. So I had no idea. Like I got called about, oh, do you want to do an honor society? I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what that is, you know. So I'm loving it. I'm taking one class at a time just because, you know, I'm a full-time teacher. I also do some tutoring on the side. And it's a blast because you have to be a dork, which I love, of course, you know. So it's like you have to, you know, you like to watch your documentaries and look up stuff, whatever. This, I have to do it. I have to sit through like 20 different papers and stuff, and those are the ones that work for my paper. I have to, you know, read through all this other stuff, so it's really exciting. And I figure since I'm putting in all this effort anyway, maybe just add it to my channel, you know. So why not? So yeah, I've done some stuff about cults and conspiracy theories as a way to deal with like a public health or social health issue. So I thought, why not conspiracy theories, especially with the whole pandemic situation, and just how that kind of backfired with things like the vaccine, but also just our approach to it too. A lot of people were under the impression that a vaccine was 100% effective, and I thought, who told you that? And they're like, oh, Dr. Fauci did. Did they really?
Yeah.
I mean, if they told you that, that's wrong. Like, nobody should tell you that, you know. So, you know, if you wear a mask, it's 100% effective. No, it's not. who lied to you? So if people are lying to them about this, yeah, they're in the wrong too, you know. So yeah, just kind of dip into that.
A big one that I hear with the vaccine is like, remember, it was only meant to be one vaccine. And it's like, who? Like, it's like they invent these. I don't know who, like, what medical journals they're reading that are saying, oh, it's only ever going to be like. It just seems like they get caught up in the news cycle, and they think that someone who's pro-vaccine is on the left, so the news cycles of those people on the left would be like, like, you know, they say that, oh, it's only one at this stage, and then like that's as good as a scientific journal. It's not. So yeah, so we have a little bit of history about myself and yourself with the COVID-19 vaccine. So when there was the second wave coming really badly, I remember being in Australia and was driving down the main street, and everyone was supposed to be wearing masks. And by the way, for those who watch Fox News, we were not locked up in our houses. It wasn't like in some parts of the city, like the lockdowns were pretty bad, but it wasn't like like people think it was like a
can't leave your house.
Yeah.
Like shot on site. You know?
Yeah. It wasn't like that. Like you could go out and exercise and things like that. But we did some lockdowns and they worked for a while. But there was this one time I went down to like the main street and like no one was wearing masks, and everyone was like in the restaurants together just like chatting. And I made a prediction that pissed off a lot of people. And I said, my prediction is we're fucked. Like we're gonna have a huge wave. And then everyone got really angry. And sure enough, we got a huge wave. So I created my friend did all the work. I tried to do the marketing. He did a really good job. I did a pretty poor job, but we created this website called safeandvax.com to try and like remove some of the fear tactics around those horrible vaccine stories that you hear.
Yeah.
And so what people could do is they could upload a photo of themselves, and it would go to this Instagram and tag it with safe and vax. So people could like show, hey, like this is me, I'm safe and I got the vaccine and nothing bad happened. Like I'm
Right.
safe and vaxxed.
Right.
But for you, you were
Mm.
in South Korea and everything was going swell, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Until
Until yeah, I was actually out of the country. I was in there's a US territory nearby called Guam. And so I was there, and it's like you're asking your friends back in Korea, hey, I'm fixing to come back. What do you want? What kind of souvenir, something to eat or t-shirt or whatever. And everybody said masks. I was just like, what am I gonna come home to? What? So, okay, that's kind of weird, but sure. So as I'm looking around, I can't find any. Some
oh
other people
wow.
already bought them, like out of well, there was a Kmart that's still there. I guess Target would be an equivalent, or Walmart's an equivalent, but they still have Kmart there. Yeah, there was no pharmacies had it. None of the other tourist destinations that sell small pharmacy equipment stuff, none of them had it. And I just thought, everybody wants this and nobody has it. What's happening? So I come back, and pretty shortly after the school kind of starts back up, we're now locked down, and that was interesting. I was pretty upset right away because it became known that this religious cult called Shincheonji, it's like a Christian extreme group. So for them, they're really big into faith healing, and that means if you're sick, you go to church. You don't go to the hospital. And wearing masks and seeking medical help is considered like a show of lack of faith. So you want to sit with your congregation and pray. And that was the problem, was everybody's together and praying in close quarters. And so of course more people get it. So when this had happened, people got pretty upset, and eventually the government was like, we need a list of the people in your congregation so we can test them. But they didn't want to be blamed for the pandemic, so they didn't release it. And the government's like, we have ways of making you talk, that kind of thing. Like, we can legally obtain this stuff, just help us out so we can, we don't have to write all the paperwork and stuff to obtain it. And they were like, no, we don't want to be associated with spreading the pandemic, which of course made them more associated with spreading the pandemic. So then we ended up getting it because we just got it in all different towns, because these are not like a ton of huge churches in a bunch of different areas. So if you're part of this congregation, you typically have to travel a bit to get to a central location. And then everybody goes back to their respective cities after church is over. We also had another outbreak because of another church. So these churches were still meeting. Eventually, they had to put a ban on churches congregating. They could, of course, still hold it over, online, like on Zoom. You just couldn't congregate anymore. So this church had decided that they had holy water that was also salt water. I don't know why it couldn't just be freshwater holy water. It was salt water, apparently. So what they did was they
That's
stuck
weird.
I specifically salt water. So they would stick the nozzle in your mouth and spray it, and then to the next person stick the nozzle in their mouth and
Oh,
spray it.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, and so suddenly we got more. So that was exciting.
Do they reject the germ theory of disease? Are they that far away? Are they that far into the conspiratorial mindset that they're like, we don't believe in germs? Like, this is devils that we're casting out, or are they kind of
that as far as I understand, we didn't hear anything about that specifically. I think it gave me more the impression of the Christian Science group, the group that just
yeah.
really rejects any kind of formal medical care and just focuses totally on faith. So I don't know if it's necessarily the devil is making you sick or rely on God to make you well. So it was not a great time. Yeah.
Ratsa asked, just got here, so missed a bunch, but is this the same cult that is active in Japan?
You might be thinking the Arum Shiriko, the one that did the what was it? The anthrax thing? Is that the one you're talking about? The
Uh,
anthrax one in the 90s?
I don't know what
Do you
they're,
know the
but
Arm one?
I know kind of. I
Mm.
know, like, I've heard that story. I know that
Mm.
they're. I did a little bit of googling of this church
Mhm.
slash cult, and I saw they were popping up in Sydney and like places in Australia, like, and converting people.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's exciting. I sent you. I don't know if you want to show the website.
Uh,
Actually, I
I
don't know if they're the ones that were involved in Abe's murder. That was such a weird one. That was a wow. That was a wow moment. I still can't
I
believe
can't,
somebody did that.
the website won't load for me, so
Oh, interesting.
yeah, I tried
Uh-oh.
twice.
God just doesn't want us to make fun
Oh
of his
no, it
people,
worked.
I guess.
It worked. Okay, so here's the website.
Uh-oh. The devil is at it again.
So it looks like a normal church, right? Like, it looks like a
Mm.
Hillsong-esque kind of
Yeah.
church. What do they do that's different to like a typical church?
So one of the things that they were really worried about right away that they were telling us when it came to the Shincheonji Church and the early spread was the how close their congregation is. So it's almost like these circles, I guess, of prayer. So they have these really close, like you're really physically close to each other. So as opposed to sitting in a few pews or like a bunch of chairs, they're a lot closer than that. And this is the reason it spread much faster in their congregation as opposed to any other congregation.
Yeah, and you're mentioning that, like, to me in private, that they would travel
Mhm.
from like rural areas, get sick in the mega church, and then like go back to those rural areas.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
really, really unfortunate.
but regarding their like belief system, like, how do they differ from like an average church? Like, I see some stuff here that looks kind of whack.
Hmm.
Um, the spiritual throne seen from above, spiritual throne seen from below, seven
Yeah,
lamps,
are
24
we able to
elders.
make that any larger? I
Yeah,
wonder.
I'll do the old zoom.
Yeah.
Whoop.
What do we got?
There's a lot of stuff on here. Hang on. Oh my gosh! Every time there we go.
We have the 12. Do you see the 12 tribes thing that's on the side when you
Yeah.
scroll down? And so we have like these different oh boy. So we have Seoul James and we have Busan James. Really? So this is exciting. So there's Busan James. So these are different tribes, I guess, that they're thinking they're going to be the ones that are taken into heaven. Some of these they're
Mm.
kind of interesting. Like, you know how people get on the idea of like Jesus being so Italian looking, he's so European for a
Yeah.
Palestinian guy. Yeah, sometimes he's Korean.
Korean Jesus, like in
Yeah,
that movie.
Korean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
happens sometimes. I'm not sure if they necessarily believe it, but it looks like they're kind of focusing on like a 12 tribes of Shincheonji. Not 100% sure exactly what's going on there, but it's
Mm.
yeah, there's a promised pastor. So this is kind of where it comes into a almost where we're thinking more like the cult stuff. So it's not like anybody is the leader. It's this one particular guy who was delivered unto Shincheonji, that kind of thing. So
Mm.
it's yeah, it's I would who might this be closer to? Hmm.
It, the guy who started it.
Mhm.
I have to give. I do have to give credit where credit is due. I don't know if this is just trying to save public image, but they did they did apologize for all their poor handling of the COVID-19 virus. But
Yeah, I
that
don't
still
think
doesn't
anybody
stop.
thinks they did this maliciously. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's one of those things where it was so frustrating because we just didn't want it to go any further. This could
yeah.
have been a controlled epidemic. You know.
I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I'm the root and the offspring of David and the bringer of the morning star. Greetings to all beloved Christians. So I've heard that he kind of sees himself as like a prophet, kind of like the chosen
Yeah, and there's a few of those that show up. There's the Moonies you probably heard about if anybody is familiar with Stephen Hassan. Um or I guess Steve Hass. I'm not sure 100% how to pronounce his name. But he's done a lot of really good stuff about cults, like a lot of good books and stuff, a lot of good research about it. And he was actually part of the Moonies. So the Moonies, you guys may know them most as the people that organize the mega weddings. That's who they are, like the big stadiums of people that just get mass married to each other. So they believe like they're the second coming of Jesus in some cases, or that they're like the prophet who's going to announce that Jesus is coming, or that Jesus will come in their lifetime because they've paved the way. There's other people there's that they think like they're the wife of Jesus. You know, yeah, this stuff happens in the States, you know, and I'm sure it happens in Australia, but there's that guy who says he is the second Jesus and the second Mary, like they go around touring, they're Australian. But I feel like it's a little more common. I'm not saying it is common. Most churches are not like this. But I would say I've heard more of it in Korea, which is odd because, you know, based on the population and the relative lack of popularity of Christianity here. Atheism is the largest religious group, quote unquote. Last I checked, it was 48%. So that's the largest group. And then Buddhism. So Christianity, yeah, it exists here. Everybody knows what it is. You can see churches everywhere, but it's not like most people are Christian. So to have like a relatively smaller population with a relatively smaller percentage of the population dedicated to Christianity, to hear about all of these, yeah, I'm the second coming of Jesus. Oh yeah, he's coming tomorrow because I paved the way. That's a little odd, you know, just a little bit. Yeah. There's a Mother God church. I don't know if you ever have heard of it, but it's like the Jesus. It's sort of the. Do you know the Sibylline oracles and stuff, like the Sibyl?
No.
It's like this Gnostic thing about the
Oh,
gods.
wow.
Like one of them has like a wife, you know. So there's like the wife of God.
I do know a little bit about Gnosticism, but not like more from an ancient, like an antiquities perspective. But I don't know much about it, like Gnostic churches today. Do they still exist?
I don't know if it necessarily would count. I guess maybe it is. I've spoken to them once. I got to talk to them about it, and they said that because it says that because I asked them, where in the Bible do you guys get that God has a wife, and that it's like a marriage of like concept, and so they just pointed to Genesis, and they said that because God made us in His image, and we are male and female, therefore God is also male, and also there must be a female God.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not the in-depth answer I was hoping
for. Actually, I have to recommend a really fantastic book. God and Anatomy by Dr. Francesca Stavrakopoulos. I spent all my pocket money, got a signed copy delivered from the UK. Fantastic book. And those in the chat will know that I'm about to talk what I'm about to talk about. But we're talking this morning about God's massive dick, which is referenced in the Bible, and is kind of dressed up to not mean dick in the English translations. But this book goes into like how the ancient world saw God, and he had hands, feet, a wife, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, walking around the garden and everything.
Yeah, the concept of God obviously evolved, but it's just really interesting to have such a fantastic book on that. But it talks about in Isaiah 6, talks about God entering the temple, and the English translation says like someone said it up here said the dangly bits from the robe, right? But what the actual Hebrew is kind of referring to, if you know the Hebrew, is essentially it's kind of a play on words for God's junk. It's like God's junk was so big it filled the room, and that wasn't seen as like something like to be crass or anything at the time. That was like saying this God concept that they had was so like them. You know, big genitals was a thing, I guess. It still is, I guess. But So yeah, we've had it is an interesting concept that there are people who believe these things like God has a wife.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, I'm not
Hmm.
convinced of the existence of God, but yeah, all power to you if you have these interesting ideas. Someone said, someone in the chat said, all 6 of my sisters contracted it at their churches. So COVID-19 at the church that we're
Yikes!
talking about.
Yikes!
I'm an atheist and I've never been infected. But then I was going to
Well,
say,
that's good for you, Daniel. I got it once. Yeah, we had a
yeah,
COVID Mary situation. So
I had,
yeah.
I was going to say praise Neil deGrasse Tyson, but then someone said, I'm an atheist and I've had it 3 times.
Yeah,
Probably didn't work.
right,
So
right.
we can't draw a correlation there.
Yep, unfortunately, yeah. Philly Dave Seven says truly fascinating and also sad that COVID denialism was so popular within religious communities around the world. I definitely noted that. Obviously, this is a pandemic. I'm a history teacher. In a academic way, I was really like, I hate to use this phrase, but I was excited to be living through a pandemic just
Yeah,
as a
I
history teacher. Which
yeah,
again, it's a
I know what you mean.
terrible way to phrase it, but that yeah. So I was really, for a while I was documenting every day. I still have it somewhere. I think I got to day 30 something. I was just documenting every day that happened. I
Mm,
was making live streams while I was working from home. So during my lunch break, I would make live streams just so people could kind of check in and see that it's yeah, I'm at home, but it's not the end of the world. I made some
mm.
recommendations for people that were on lockdown, like how to avoid cabin fever and stuff. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting time, I think. But overall, I was really disappointed in the religious communities around the world. How a lot of Jewish people said, "Oh, this is for the non-Jews," and the Muslim people said, "Oh, this is for the non-Muslims," and the Hindu people said, "Oh, well, as long as we still bathe in the Ganges, then we'll be okay," and it was just so disappointing that everybody kept giving it to everybody else because they would go to these
Mm.
events and then go back to their respective communities and just spread it. um I
It's
mean,
really
why not just go online? Isn't God everywhere? Why do we have
yeah.
to be physically in a congregation? I don't get
Yeah,
it.
it's also like it might have been seen as like an act of like you're betraying your faith if you don't trust um God. The other thing too is like there are some church pastors, like there was a pastor, who's that guy? He's an absolute moron. My brain isn't working too well today, but Greg Locke, Pastor Greg Locke, he
Oh,
made
thank
his
you. That guy, I also forgot his name recently. I
yeah,
don't know why.
he made his church a mask-free zone, so you couldn't wear a mask if you went to his church. So there's people like that who
So
I think
much for
should be held
freedom of
responsible.
choice.
Yeah, I think people like that
Yeah.
should be held responsible for the lives that they've influenced to die. Um,
Yeah.
but so and that's the thing too, is something that we're not going to talk about COVID this whole time because it's a bit of
Mm.
a it's been done to death. But
Downer. Yeah.
yeah, but the thing that bothered me is you and people always ask, why do you care about what other people believe? Well, because people's beliefs inform their actions, and I have to live in a society where people don't believe masks work because they don't have a basic
Mm.
understanding of biology or immunology or anything. They believe that they can like drink turmeric butter or whatever and then like
Or
be all
cow
good.
urine.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they have these perspectives. But then what's worse is there was a while where in our local community there were members wearing big yellow Jewish
But
stars
yeah.
on their shirts when they went to church, as if they were persecuted like the Jews of Europe because they had to wear a mask, and they refused to wear a mask, and everyone just hated them for it. But it was disgusting. Like it was actually disgusting. Like it's not about politics. I don't care what the
Mhm.
left or the right say. It's not about like just but it's pretty simple. Like if you don't spread if you make efforts to not spread the disease, great. Like even the anti lockdown protests, great. You can do an anti lockdown protest. You can even do
Mhm.
it in the
Mhm.
streets. But you can wear masks. You can you can social distance. You can still
Yeah.
accept the science and not like the mandates. But that's
Right.
not yeah.
Yeah,
I
I feel like
pastor
it's tick
pastor
lock.
Dick Lock.
Yeah, I was just as soon as I read it, I'm like, try not to laugh. Yeah, totally not laughing. Yeah, I tried. I failed. Yeah,
Uh,
it's so uh I feel like there's the Christian persecution complex is pretty
oh
hardcore,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And I mean, it's as people who were Christian, right? It's like you get it because you're told that the better Christian you are, the more persecuted you're going to be, and nobody's persecuting you. So
yeah.
is the
It's like
Bible wrong? Are you not a good enough Christian? So let's get
yeah.
more extreme. And then people are like, wow, that sucks. And you're like, oh, that's it. There's the persecution. Somebody said it sucks.
Mhm.
You know?
I
Oh man.
remember when I was deconstructing my faith originally. I remember it was around the time of the same-sex marriage plebiscite when it really
Mm,
started to sink in Australia. But it was like I remember Christians Christians thinking that including other members of the population into something that isn't their business was persecution on them. They thought marriage equality was persecution on them. And
yeah.
I was like, wait, I was like, they're like, well, it's a Christian concept. I was like, can atheists get married? Are
Yeah.
Satanists allowed to get married? Are
Yeah.
Hindus allowed to get married? Like, what do you
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
like if you're okay with like two Hindus getting married, you should be equally like. It makes no sense to me if you think it's a Christian concept.
Right, and then they don't have to get married. Like maybe they, some people want to, but you don't have to get married in a church. Marriage is a legal contract. So if they don't want the Christian idea of marriage, you don't have to marry them in your church, but they can still be legally married and enjoy all the legal
Yeah,
protections of
yeah,
marriage.
exactly. That's totally
You know
fine. Yeah,
what? What's the argument there?
yeah.
You know?
So, I really am excited to show you this conspiracy chart. So,
I'm excited.
for when someone who dives into conspiracy theories as much as you do hasn't seen this chart, I get
Yeah.
excited because
Okay, good.
it is just so
I'm
perfect.
excited. I
So,
want to see how many I can do.
yeah, let's do a game.
Okay.
So, for those who don't know, someone created this image called the conspiracy chart in 2021. That kind of documents all the kind of conspiracy theories, and someone's built a website for it where you can actually click on them and get information. So I've got the website up, and we're going to open it here. So this is the conspiracy chart 2021, right? So you've got, and I will zoom in, but you've got these grounded in reality at the bottom here, and then you go up to speculation line, then you leave reality, then you're into reality denial, and then you cross, which is so
Yeah.
perfectly worded, the anti-Semitic point of no return.
Oh,
And
that's
I just love,
perfect.
yeah, because they all end up being anti-Semitic. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously horrible. I don't mean to say it's amazing that they're anti-Semitic, but
No,
it's
I know what you
amazing that
mean.
they all
That's
end up. But
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's zoom in. I want to see how many of these you get. So
Okay, let's go.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
start at the
zoom.
Bottom.
Start at the bottom. Okay. And if
Make this
if
bigger
anyone in the
too.
chat, if anyone, let's be honest here, okay? Like, did you have, Miss Lemon? Did you ever have conspiracy theories? Like, did you ever believe in conspiracy theories?
I mean, there's some of them that are true, like on here, like the Tuskegee experiment and MK Ultra,
Yeah.
and the NSA mass surveillance, right?
But
But
were
as
you
far
ever
as like
like a?
the other types,
I
um,
was like,
I don't know.
were
Maybe
you
we'll
ever?
see some of these, but I
Were,
really thought maybe Area 51.
yeah. Okay. Nine
I really
11.
no, not I never that one. I was in
Okay.
engineering school at the time, and we had like we showed that the buildings were designed to sustain a hit from like a 707, but they took a hit from what was it, a 757. And so it was
Yeah.
like, wow, that's really good. And of course when they heat up, the steel loses its integrity, and it causes torsion, and it bends and it warps.
Mm,
So this was like before the idea of people were talking about, oh, it can't melt steel beams, so we were just like, yeah, so once it melts, or not melts, once it bends a little bit, yeah, it's going to come crashing down. And so when people are like, oh, it can't melt it, I'm like, I don't think anybody claimed it melted it, did it? It just kind of, good job building didn't fall over, and then it collapsed, which sucked, but yeah. So let's
so,
see. Big tobacco
but
lied about cancer.
yeah, we got like all these ones are pretty, like
Okay,
okay, that
okay.
makes sense.
One that is super funky that I thought in the past, I thought, oh yeah, for sure, is what was it, the Philadelphia experiment?
Oh, I don't
You know that
know. I don't know about that.
okay, so you're on a ship and they turn on a Tesla coil because they're testing to see can they do something better with like camouflage against radar.
Hmm.
And then the ship disappeared. And then it reappeared way faster than it should have wherever it was supposed to be. And then there was like dudes like going through the walls and stuff, and like a bunch of people were dead on there.
Okay. All right.
So
That
it's,
sounds
it's
fun.
it's pretty
What?
cool. Yeah, but like being in the military, I was working for intelligence for a while, nothing super high up, but stuff like yeah, the NSA surveillance. I mean
Are
that
you gonna
yeah.
drop some Edward Snowden facts on me right now, and
I
we can I
can't.
can I can publish it. I can publish
I'm
it for you.
not
Let's do it.
interested
Make something
in
up.
going. Yeah, make it up. No, I've been good. I've been good keeping everything quiet for gosh, when did I get out of the military? 2008. So I've been good about it because and my mom
What?
was trying to get the secrets out of me, and I'm like, I can't. She's like, oh, I'm
So
not gonna
you?
tell anybody, and I was like, yeah,
Oh yeah,
you
but you can't.
I was
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, but your cell phone and stuff picks it up. And she looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, don't you remember voting on the Patriot Act that the government can just listen to us? Like this wasn't even a secret conspiracy.
Mm,
This was we voted on it. No,
yeah.
they totally still listen to you, even if the phone is off. So even if I talk about it now, they'll hear it. I mean,
Yeah.
Google can hear me.
Yeah.
You think the government
So
can't?
I didn't know this. So do you actually know secrets? Like,
Yeah.
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, they're not like anything like when I found them out, I'll tell you this much.
Mm,
When I found them out, I was like, "Oh, that's it." Well,
yeah.
why don't we say that? And
Mm,
I remember my sergeant was like, because if we do, people will freak out about what didn't happen, even though it didn't happen. So a really
mm,
good
mm,
example of this is the shoe bomb on an airplane. That guy was trying to light his shoes to blow up the airplane, right? And so now everybody in the US, even today, we got to take off our shoes to go through the
yeah.
security checkpoint, right? Nobody else does that. I've been to a bunch of different I've never taken off my shoes. Going through
Mm,
it, like a bunch of Korean people that have never been to the US, they're like, "What are we why are we taking off our
mm,
shoes?" It's
yeah.
it's so shocking. So here, they caught the guy with all the systems that are already in place. They caught him. He didn't blow anything up. Nobody was hurt. But they were so scared that something maybe would happen that now nobody gets to wear their shoes for the next how many years?
Yeah.
That's how people overreact. And that's what they don't
Yeah.
want people to do. So they're just like, we can't tell anybody because they're going to overreact. So that's it.
There's a story about I'm not sure if you've read there's a book called The China Study, and it kind of goes through like the biggest study on nutrition on Earth or whatever, and it's very plant based orientated, obviously,
Hmm.
but the one thing they kind of noted is there was a chemical found in like like bologna or something, like kids snacks, and
Okay.
parents found out about it, got notified, and parents found out about this, and they were stopping the school bus to like get their kids
Was
off to
it
get the snacks out of the, and
dihydrogen monoxide? Was
it
it
was
that?
something, the chemical, see, the thing is the chemical was like infinitely more less toxic than the actual bologna itself. So
Yeah,
like
right.
we know that like processed meats, like according to the CDC or whatever, are a class one
Mm.
carcinogen, like they're
Hmm. Hmm.
tobacco carcinogen, right?
Yeah.
So
Like asbestos.
yeah, so but these
Yeah.
parents were freaking out, and it was like infinitely less of a deal,
Yeah.
but it's like people react to things very not very logically.
Hmm.
But I have a quick question. What do you
Yeah.
think about Edward Snowden?
Oh, yeah, I think he's super. I don't know. I have a hard time because it's like so I do have a hard time when people ask me questions about like the NSA and stuff. On the one hand, it's like I'm American, freedom, my privacy, and on the other hand, it's like, well, wait a minute. I've seen what they can do and what they do. Like they don't. It's like anybody can look inside your house, but nobody does. But anybody could, but nobody does. Because
Hmm.
there's no reason to like spy on you walking across your living room. So nobody does. So it's not like, so technically, I guess your window towards the street could be a violation of private, but nobody does it, right? But if you were in front of your window murdering somebody, somebody would be able to see it and stop you. Like, the only time people are intervening in your privacy is when you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, and they need to intervene, right? So these are, these are things that they're like way up there. Regular police offices don't even have, the way to get them. So to go back to that question about Snowden, on the one hand, America, freedom, tell the government secrets, but on the other hand, their secrets are kept for a reason. And I know it sucks because especially with all the stuff like on that bottom list, with MK Ultra, with the Tuskegee syphilis experiment stuff. There's secrets we don't want, and why should we trust the government with those secrets, right? We've seen their track record is not the best, but at the same time, we know about these handful of things that were terrible. There's a lot more stuff that isn't terrible. And that's, and it makes me feel really sick to my stomach to say that, because I'm not that person that's like, oh, just trust the government. But I feel like I got no other choice but to say that it's like, these are not people that are like checking to see how many dick pics you're sending. They don't care, they don't care what you're doing. They're too busy. Even if they want to see how magnificent your dick is, they're too busy to do it. You know what I mean?
And
they're checking
even
for
when they
stuff.
even when they are watching you, like even when they are like, it's not someone like behind a camera, like watching a screen. It's like AI and algorithms passing words. And if you keep saying things like, I won't say them because my stream will get flagged, but you keep saying like bomb and like, all these whatever, like it'll go, it'll like.
Daniel's saying in the chat that Snowden was naive. I would say that's the way. Yeah, that's a really good way to phrase it. It's like, on the one hand, you want to be like, oh, expose that damn government, but there's a lot of reasons it's not exposed. I think a really good example was when, who was it? Geraldo. He was this newscaster who was really big in the 80s and 90s and then kind of went away. And so he's back in like in the Iraq war. And so there he got some intel somehow. And so he was asking a question to some of the military guys about what they were going to do next. And they were like, that was a secret. So he's like, oh, so I heard you guys are something along those lines. And they got so upset because now they got to change everything because you just blabbed it out on live TV, A lot of the stuff that's secret is stuff most people just would not care about. I will say that at least the stuff that I saw, nobody would care about it. It has to do with stuff like different weapons and stuff that are being used, that we got to watch out for, stuff like that. And even then, that would be outdated information because, like I said, it got out in 2008. That's the kind of stuff, it's just like, we don't want the other guy to know we know about their stuff, because then if they know that we know, then they'll stop using it.
There's there are people who are watching this, who will watch this, who will believe that you're lying, and that the way that you're secretly telling us that you are lying is the alien UFO in the background, where it's like, like she's really secretly giving us the information. So for those listening at home,
for those listening at home, it's not a real alien, it's a green screen. Just like they use for the moon landing.
So okay, so let's go back to this
let's check it out.
Poster. So we got like, Watergate, big oil push, climate disinformation, MK Ultra.
By the way, that's how I know that Daniel is not lying, is because he's like, look, Snowden was naive and most of the stuff is boring. Right, that's it. Most of the stuff is boring. And which is sad, because I was going in like, all right, I'm Agent Scully, let's deep dive into this, and it's just like, oh, here's some like maps.
But do you think that, like, with Snowden, do you think that, because I read his book and I think his like heart, I hate using that word, but his heart behind it all came out pretty strong, that he was just like, hey, I want the public to kind of know this, and he tried to do it in the most responsible way possible, I guess.
I don't know if there is a most responsible way.
I mean, it's like, how do you skin a cat or whatever that term is, like, it's like, it wasn't like, in some way, if anyone's interested, read his book because I think he explains himself pretty well. Not saying I'm like a fanboy or whatever, but I think it's interesting to kind of hear both
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
again, I feel like it is, it's he is kind of heroic to the average person because they don't see the full picture of it. But
mm,
once you're getting more of a picture of it, you kind of get to see why. Like it's no secret that the internet was created for the military.
mm,
And so they still have a secret internet. It's called the SIPRnet. Um, and you go to like Fox News or CNN or something on the SIPRnet, and it's all of the journalists that have these security clearances, and they write this stuff on there, and it's really interesting. You get to read it, but it's not like, oh, we found the aliens in Saddam's bunker.
yeah,
It's
of
like,
course.
oh, here was this thing that you guys should know about if you want to read about it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's it. It's again, it's like nerd stuff. Like if you're a
Yeah,
government nerd, then
you
yeah,
love
you
it.
like
Yeah.
it. But otherwise, again, it's not like, the cigarette smoking guy. Like, because I loved the X-Files. So once I was like the briefcase with the handcuff, I was like, yes. And then like I'm going into the safe because it's in a wall and you got to access the safe. And I'm like, yeah. And then I get in there, the safe is really cold, and the briefing was not short and boring. Like
Yeah.
that's that's it. It
Yeah.
was just such a,
Yeah.
oh, this is all it
I
is.
think
Okay.
from the perspective of someone who doesn't know anything about this kind of
Mm.
stuff about Edward Snowden, but from my perspective, he seems very seems like full of integrity. He seems like he really cares, but he
Mhm.
also seems a little dramatic. And I don't know if
Yeah, okay, I would agree. I would agree with that.
like he
Just a
seems
yeah.
like he's like this is and it was big news to everyone, I guess, but he seems like as if like to me it's not that big of a deal. Like
Mhm.
yeah, it's not nice or whatever, but like he acts as I'll shut up now, but let's go on to this, otherwise we
Yeah, let's check it.
miss it.
Yeah, otherwise we'll keep talking
Okay.
about it. Yeah.
Okay, so we got these like these kind of, I will say, boring ones, and for those listening, I'm sorry, but we're going through the chart, but and we'll hopefully read out things, but we move across into the speculation line. So that's like UFOs, Area 51, Denver International Airport, Epstein didn't
Oh,
kill himself.
Charles Manson, the CIA asset.
Yeah,
The
so this is
Denver
like
International Airport. Oh, I know about that one with the Satan horse and stuff and like the huge underground portion of it. You know what I'm talking about?
no, I don't. Tell us about
Oh,
that. So this
okay.
is the
Okay.
Denver International
Okay,
Airport.
look up the Denver International Airport. Gosh, what's his name? Like it's Blue Horse, like Satan horse or Blue Horse, Denver International Airport. So there's that, and they're like, why did they have this weird, like scary looking horse there? But then also if you look at the blueprints, there's a huge underground portion. Like the underground portion allegedly is larger than the actual airport that's above ground. Yeah, that one. There it is. Look at this thing. It's pretty scary looking, right? And then look up
Yeah.
Denver International Airport, like creepy paintings or something like that, because those paintings are there too. Like they're supposed to tell a story that's like a conspiracy story. So it's about stuff like the New World Order. It's about like child sacrifice. Yeah, there they are. So it's all about, so you can read into it, it's all about the new age. That so then in this case the rainbow does not mean LGBTQ, it means the new age. And so there's
Right.
all of these. Yeah, so yeah, I am definitely no stranger to conspiracy theories. I
Wow,
love them. I love them.
that's
I love them.
interesting. Um, Jimmy Hoffa disappearance, things like that. So this is like the speculation line. So this is like, okay, like this is like it's fun to like, I don't know, like sit around a
Mm,
campfire and smoke a joint and talk about this with your friends or something, right?
right, right.
But then you start to like leave reality in this next line that
Yeah.
we're yeah,
Oh my
okay.
god, I
So
love. Okay, so Avril Lavigne replaced. Do we know this one?
yeah,
Okay.
let's read through a few of these. Let's read through a few, and I'll read through a few, and then we'll go through them. Okay, so this is leaving reality. Like so, Avril Lavigne replaced. Kylie Jenner is a clone. Tupac is alive in Serbia. Cryptids. Elvis lives. Alien abductions. Mattress firm money laundering scheme. Greta Thunberg is a time traveler. Prince Charles is a vampire. Stevie Wonder isn't blind. Ted Cruz is a Zodiac killer. Titanic never sank, and Michael Jackson is still alive. So this is you're leaving reality if you start believing
I
this
think
stuff.
the only ones I haven't heard of is, I mean, Kylie Jenner is a clone. I haven't heard that one specifically, but somebody being a clone, that's not anything special to me. But the one that really stands out at me is that Titanic never sank. That's one I haven't heard. Not
Yeah,
that I
neither.
recall. But the one I like the most is cryptids. Out of those, I talk about cryptids a lot in my daily life for some reason, and I
Okay.
sometimes introduce it to my students just for fun. So we talk about because we talk about geography,
Hmm.
and I like to
What?
introduce some cultural stuff. Like, so by the way, there's like the Sasquatch or the Yeti, there's the
Yes.
Mothman,
So
the Jersey Devil, those kinds of things. Yeah.
so why? So I don't even know what this is. What is cryptids? Like, what is that? Like,
Oh,
is
so
that?
those are like animals that are not documented by science that people believe in, such as Bigfoot.
Ah,
Yeah, I
okay.
forget the one. There's a term there, but Australia has a type of Bigfoot as well, but it drags people into the, what are they called? The billabong. It drags people in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. It's I forgot what
Um,
it's called.
hmm. So
Look,
they have
so
them. They have them in a lot of places. This like ape man or this like
mm,
don't go near the water. So stuff like a kelpie, I would say, is closer to what the Australian Bigfoot, quote unquote, is because it
yeah.
drags people into the water and drowns them. Yeah, the
So
yowie. Thank you. Yes, the yowie.
Yowie.
There it is.
So I look. I hate that I'm going to say this, right? Because I don't believe in almost any conspiracy theory. Uh, until they're not conspiracy theories, right? Because then
Mm.
I believe that's when you have sufficient reason to believe them.
Yeah, there's still
In
conspiracies.
general, I'm
Yeah.
not like closed off to information, but like I just yeah. But this one time, my friend and I were in the bush. This is a real story. I'm being 100% serious.
I 100%
And
believe you.
okay, and we're in the bush, and we're going for like a really long bike ride, and we stopped, and I was getting something in my bag, like a muesli bar or something, and I was looking ahead, and I saw this like giant log, like this huge, like it was like a burnt down log, like kind of standing up, like it was like a tree stump, sorry, like but burnt black. And as I turned around to look at my friend, I saw it move out of the corner of my eye. And at the same time, because he was looking in my direction, he said, "What the fuck is that?" And then we turned around, and this thing that I can only explain looking like a bear was walking on all fours from like, I'm looking at it, and it's like moving camera right. And we had to ride down that path, and we're like, what do we do? We got knives out of our bag. I don't know why we had knives. We thought maybe going in the bush, bring a knife or whatever. So we got knives out of the bag. We rode past, we couldn't see anything, and we just kind of kept
Mm.
riding. But we don't have bears in Australia, and so
I don't know. I've heard of the drop bear.
we have drop bears, they're not that big. So this thing, I swear, was about a meter, 1.2 meters high, like on
Mhm.
all fours.
Okay.
So it was either a giant dog, huge dog that was like kind of sitting up looking at us and then just walked off. This is
Hmm.
what I'm thinking. Or it was less likely, or it was a giant wombat that just looked big from a distance. Or, and the last thing that I could think could possibly be is, I don't know, maybe it is a bear or something. I don't know. But it
Hmm.
was definitely a weird experience. But people have told me that was a Yowie experience. So who knows?
Oh, that's interesting. And I
Yeah.
think
Like,
that's where the problem comes in. It's like I see something, I'm not really sure what it was. And people are so sure that we know exactly what everything is, like, oh, I've seen a dog before. It was not a dog. How do you know? You've seen every dog, you've seen every dog from every angle at every possible
yeah.
optional lighting. Um
Yeah.
as for so there was a question about the looks
The
like Jansan bomb, and that, yeah, I've asked a million people, as many people as I can ask, about cryptids, about legends, about stuff in create. Nobody knows, nobody cares.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And which is weird because if you ask an American person about Bigfoot, even if they don't care, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I've heard of it. That's stupid." but you'll never get somebody who's like, "What's a I've never heard of that." But I've asked them, what is this Jangsangbom? I've heard about it in Busan or something. Oh gosh, I don't know. I have no idea. Nobody's any idea. Um, it's pretty interesting because I guess for the average Korean, there's not much of a connection to historical Korea,
It's
honestly.
it's interesting too because D is a regular community member. She said religion primes you to be superstitious, and it's interesting that South Korea, you're
Mm,
saying, is quite atheistic in their
mm.
thinking, or in their belief system. So that it's interesting that they don't necessarily have that. I
There's
would
a lot of
tend to
medical
agree.
superstition, I would say. Like there's this
Ah,
belief that doing certain activities like basketball can make your child grow taller. That magnets do something to draw your blood energy. There's still some beliefs in like the Chinese traditional stuff, like eating an animal's penis makes your penis better, just stuff like that.
oh, hang on, wait, what was that? Let
Yeah,
me write that down.
yeah, write it
Penis.
down.
Yeah,
Penis makes penis. Okay.
penis makes penis. Yeah.
Sword fighting. Just write it down. Sword fighting. All right. Sword fighting at the gym. Ratsa asked, is the Tasmanian tiger a cryptid if it might still exist, or is it just an extinct animal? So when there's an animal that we believe goes extinct and then we find out it doesn't, it's actually called a Lazarus species.
Oh
I
wow.
feel like finally I get to talk about all my stupid
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That's smart. Oh,
Yeah,
that is.
but that's what it's called, as a Lazarus species. I
Oh
love that
wow.
I'm like I'm finally like I don't know a bunch of biology. Oh, but I know stupid biology.
I love that.
Yes.
So okay, so we have the Avril Lavigne replace. What's that about?
Yes. Okay, so Avril Lavigne, you guys know probably the singer, right?
Yeah.
Eventually at some point there was like a thing where it said like Dear Melissa or I love Melissa, and it was her best friend who looks really similar to her. And then after that album, everything changed. She got really overly feminine. That was her thing, was that she was kind of more like, one of the guys, and now she's dressing in like frilly dresses, does her hair really nice makeup, and is always smiling all the time. So did you find it? Yeah. So
This is so
that's
dumb. This is
that's what it is.
like
Yeah, that she got tired of the fame, and no, that she killed herself. I'm sorry, am I allowed to say that? Just
yeah,
she
yeah, yeah,
committed
yeah, yeah.
endgame, and that they wanted to continue to make, so like she kind of handed off the torch to her friend who continued to make her music after she died.
Have you seen those makeup like
For
for
Chad
men?
Kruger,
For
good
men, it's
morning.
like incredible that like you see these makeup, like these TikToks where people put on makeup and look like a
Yeah,
completely different person. And then this is the evidence, like they look like the
yeah.
same person, but with a different, like slightly different.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just
even like here it says like, oh, she's tan, and oh, it's this other thing, it's like, yeah, wow,
oh,
she went outside.
oh my
I mean,
god.
I don't dress the way I did when I was 16 either. There's an element of it, like there's part of your personality that just kind of remains constant. I still dress very dark and stuff. Um,
Yeah,
but I'm not the same. Like I would be more shocked if she didn't change, wouldn't you? Like if
yeah.
if she's in her late 30s and she still acts like she's 17, wouldn't that be more shocking?
That would be weird.
People
Is
can't
there?
handle the fact that she aged this Philly day. Yeah, it's like if she aged, that means I aged, and I'm still truly a skater girl. Like
Yeah,
nobody
exactly.
understands me. I'm not not like the other girls.
So, so is there any more in this section that you want to chat about? Like Greta Thunberg is a time traveler. I have no idea what that is, but
So
that
there's a
sounds.
handful of so and so is a time traveler. It's basically, I think the best example, if you look up Keanu Reeves is a time traveler, if you look
Oh
that up.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's like all
Let's.
those pictures and stuff. So Greta Thunberg is one of those. It's just, oh wow, like human genetics. Oh, like wow. And for me, like if you go to my Patreon, my tagline is I'm everyone's doppelganger, because
Okay.
that's, everybody is like, oh wow, I have like an aunt that looks just, oh, do you know so and so? Gosh, you look like that you could be her mom or something. So like everybody thinks that I look like somebody. I got sent an image this week. Someone's like, "Oh, this is another person," but I thought it was you for a second. I was like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
thanks," you know.
It's actually, you sent me like a bunch of photos for this stream, and like you have very diverse like looks you can give. And I
Yeah,
feel like if
yeah,
I walk past you in South Korea, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, like Miss Lemon, how you doing?" Like I'd be like,
yeah.
I recognize you, but I don't know. Like, yeah, it's
Right, right.
someone said the real conspiracy is how J Lo hasn't aged. Absolutely.
Yeah. But if you do want to know,
Or
you
Paul
know,
Rudd.
being closer to the equator, at least genetically, you do produce more collagen. So that's
Mm,
why there's that phrase "black don't crack." There's a reason for that.
yeah.
Yeah, get
I
to use
do.
all my stupid biology knowledge.
So Daniel, I do have a little quick story. Daniel Whittaker said, one of my sisters tried to tell me someone famous was trans
I
based
was
on
just
the fact
laughing. I
that,
was just typing "ha ha ha" to that, Daniel.
yeah, it wasn't any photos when they were pregnant. So I need to hello spellcaster. I need to um mention something. I need to be careful with how I word this though.
Uh oh.
Recently had some friends, I'll say friends over to the house, and we were talking about
Is it the Illuminati?
no, we were talking about well, they believe that, of course. Talking about US politics. And someone asked, "Oh, what's Obamacare?" And I was like, "Oh, well, Affordable Care Act." And then and they go, "Well, what's Obama? What's a And I was like, "Oh, they call it Obamacare." And someone else heard me say, and I've never met this person before. They said, "Obama," and I went, "Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, Obamacare, yeah, yeah." And they go, "Oh, here's a boy," and I went, "I was like, what?" I was like, "What? Sorry." They're just like, it's
you mean
like, "Are
Michelle
you having a
Obama
stroke?"
is the
Yeah, and I
trans?
was like, "What do you mean?" She's like,
Yeah.
"Michelle's a boy," and I was like, "What do you mean Michelle's a boy?" And it was just like, "Yeah, she's," and I was like, "Wait," I was like, I couldn't even understand what they were trying to say. It was like, "Are you saying that they're secretly trans?" Is that a cat? That's so
Yeah.
cute. Are you saying that they're like secretly trans, or you like, what are you saying? I and I eventually, like, it was an amazing conversation with so much, like, this is moving into the realities now kind of side of things, but it was like, I wish I asked them at the time, like, "Wait, so is Barack Obama a girl? Like, how do they have their kids?"
Uh,
Like, like, but I messaged, Ben, who, is friend that's been on the stream, and he's a trans content creator, so he gets this stuff all the time, right?
oh, yeah.
And I
Dr.
didn't
Ben?
realize. Hey?
Dr. Ben?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
Dr.
yeah.
Ben,
I
yeah.
love Dr. Ben.
Yeah, awesome dude. But
Mm.
he said that, he goes, "Oh, a transvestigator." And I was like, "What's a transvestigator?" It's like, there are people who go around investigating celebrities and going, "This person's trans, this person's trans." I even said to this person that was saying that the trans, I said, "Why do you think they're trans?" "I've seen
Yeah.
pictures." They go, "I've seen pictures." And I said, "Of what?" It's like, them as a boy. And I said, "But," and it's like, wait, is it possible that it wasn't them, or that it was a doppelganger, or that these images were photoshopped? No. And I said, "Why?"
No.
And they said, and they said, because it's not, because it's true. And I said, "But why couldn't the photos be photoshopped?
Uh-oh.
Like, surely if space can be photoshopped as you
It's
believe,
true.
why can't this be photoshopped?" It just wasn't. And I'm just like, "Oh my god!" Like, and eventually it ended with, the conversation didn't end, but eventually, like, when I kept prompting these questions, the question eventually came, "Do you believe in the devil?" And I said, and they say, "Well, that's where we have a disagreement, because we know that the devil is trying to disrupt everything, and trans identity is being pushed into everything." And I said, "If trans identity is being pushed into everything, why is she secretly trans? Why isn't she publicly trans? What? This makes The devil works in mysterious ways, I guess." But yeah, amazing.
Apparently he's more effective than God, I guess. Yeah, it's part of it, because some people say it's part of it's a racist thing, because there's a lot of like
Oh,
women that aren't European get compared to men a lot, like women from West Asia, for example, and South Asia being hairy like a man. Oh, she can grow a beard better than I can, crap like that. And
mhm.
then there's also an opposite one where like East Asian men or women, because they look a certain way. But also I've gotten it, like back when I was, before I got all messed up in the military. I was training for competitive bodybuilding, and some people were asking me, was I on steroids and all this other stuff, and I was very complimented. I said, wow, you think I'm big enough to be on steroids? I got really like, wow, okay, cool, thanks. But there's this idea that a little bit of muscle on a woman means that she's like how would you, but you know what, this has been going on forever, because that's what the Spartan women were insulted for too. It was like, oh yeah, the Sparta, you're like ultra gay because your women are men, and Sparta was like, Athens, you're actually having sex with young boys.
Yeah.
Let's see it. Oh yeah, maybe Paul, who was it, Paul? Philly Dave, sorry.
Yeah.
Philly Dave, yeah.
So we're now moving into, let's move up the list a little bit. We're now moving into reality denial. And this is when someone gets to the stage, you heard it here coined first. They get a really, I want to hear stories in the chat of people who in your life who have what I'm calling CTS, conspiracy theory sickness. Okay, where people just get obsessed with these conspiracy theories. You try and talk about you're cutting up carrots for a soup or something, and they go, carrots, do you know that? And then they somehow spin that into some, carrots are orange, kind of like Donald Trump's hair. Do you know Donald Trump is actually the, kind of like, they'll just do everything they can to talk about conspiracy theories. So let's move into reality denial. All right. This is where it gets really fun. Dun, 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 dun. So we have
Tartaria.
Tartaria. I'll read them out. Tartaria for the people listening at home. Tartaria, Antifa did January 6, RFID tracking devices in bras, jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams, US president election was stolen. I need to just comment on this. For those who think that the US president election was stolen, will they not vote for Donald Trump in the 2024 election because they won't, there'll be a third term, right? Like, so they're like, oh, we can't vote for him because of course they won't. Global warming is a hoax. Iraq dinar scam.
Dinar, yeah.
Dinar scam. Phantom time. Wayfair trafficking. Essential oils cure all illnesses. Chemtrails. Pandemic. Plandemic, not the pandemic. I was thinking, wow.
Vaccines, I know, right?
Microchips. Biden is a robot. 5G is toxic. Moon landing fake. Ivermectin cures COVID. Soy boys. And COVID is a bioweapon. Feral people in forests and ancient giant trees. It's just quickly on the soy boys. It's so funny that that term has like developed into a thing because soy has like phytoestrogens in that, right? But like phytoestrogens don't affect your estrogen levels the same way that meat affects your estrogen levels. So like people say soy boys, but
dairy with mammalian estrogen. And actually for guys, it's better if you guys do consume soy instead of dairy, because if you look up like soy protein protective against prostate cancer, because it takes up the receptors of estrogen but doesn't actually act like estrogen. And estrogen unfortunately is carcinogenic. It'll actually help protect against cancer, prostate cancer. So
isn't it amazing?
You should be a soy boy. I hope so.
That like soy boys have become like it's
what's
become a meme,
what's the conspiracy,
it's actually the exact opposite. Well, soy boys is like the idea that people who have a lot of soy and don't eat a lot of meat end up becoming feminine and developing man boobs and things like that, where it's actually the opposite. It's like actually like it was amazing when I discovered that. I was like, this is so bizarre. Like the Andrew Tate people of the world push out this message and it's actually the exact opposite. Like it's like a lot of these are just wrong. Like they're not even right. Like they're not even wrong. They're just out there. But like the soy boys thing is like it's exactly the opposite. Anyway, which is your favorite amongst this list?
Gosh, they're all good, but I like the Tartaria and the ancient trees, the giant trees.
I don't know any about them. Tell us about them.
Okay, great. So the ancient giant trees. This is basically. Do you know what a mesa is? It's it's like think of a mountain, but then like you delete the top, it's like flat, like a plateau, right on the top. So they think, no, that looks like it's a tree. No, that's not it. That's not the the first two. So they're like, so they don't understand like how sometimes
Oh
like
no.
yeah, so basically what we're looking at is like a
I
really
know where it's
old
going.
magma chamber, and it freezes, not freezes, but like it cools down, and it fractures a certain way, so they think that it's the trees. Tartaria was like this land that existed before the great mud flood, and the mud flood only flooded up until like certain levels, so that way if you see a basement but the basement has like a window that's like halfway above the ground, that's evidence of the mud flood. They didn't
So
dig it out very well. This was like in the late 1800s, early 1900s. This isn't even like an old mud. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
I'm so excited because these are so fucking dumb. Like I just love, like it's so it's so classic of like, well, my that looks like a tree to me, so must be tree. Like it's like
Yeah.
so like
Yeah.
the world must be bliss to these people. They just walk around kind of like you know, like seeing things and being like, you know, like and
Hmm.
just like everything must just be accurate in their mind. It's just it's
Yeah, and I
amazing.
mean, some people say, they can see these giants because they're fossilized, and so basically, it's a rock formation that if you squint while you're drunk, it looks like maybe a dragon. Therefore, dragons.
Mm,
That's what it is. So for me, those are the most interesting because they're so easy to disprove.
yeah.
Um, just go take a sample of the rock or learn
Yeah.
about the rock. Like a really
Well,
good one
no.
is what is it? The Giant's Causeway or the Giant's Walkway. It's in the UK, and it's these really cool like hexagon type basalt that just once it cooled down coming out, it just turns into these hexagon shapes, and they're really cool looking. Um
Oh,
this
yeah.
is not
I've
this is
seen
not
them.
remarkable in any way.
Mm,
Um, this is not unusual. It's not unique. It's cool. It's really cool. I like it. It's cool.
mm.
But it's not like, oh wow, this is the only one we have like this. It's just really
A,
strange.
a big problem is, I think that is that like people can't accept the age of the Earth being older than like like there are a lot of people don't accept the theory of evolution. A lot of these conspiracy theorists I've
Mm.
noticed they tend to be quite religious. Not to pick on religious people because I know a lot of religious people that are
Yeah,
much
no, for
smarter than
sure.
me and much more, you know, probably
For sure.
more balanced than I am. But like there is, it's yeah, there's definitely some magical thinking going on in a lot of
Mm,
like religions. Like
mm,
I used to be, I don't even know if you even know this, but I used to be a Pentecostal youth pastor. So I did like speaking in tongues, like trying to do exorcisms.
mhm,
I'm going on Godless Engineers show through the week, and we're going to be talking
mm.
about a failed exorcism that I that's a horrible story,
I
but we're
had a
going to talk about that.
successful exorcism of a house, so it looks like Lee
Wait,
1 and David 0.
okay, tell us.
I was a Pentecostal too.
Oh,
We
awesome.
believe, yeah, we believed in all this exciting.
So
Yeah, so you want to hear it? Oh my god, I can't
yeah,
wait. I gotta
tell us.
tell this.
I told you my Yowie story.
Okay, so a friend of mine, we were really into ghost hunters, like really into it. And she decided to get an EVP one night because she just was not feeling it in this new house. Okay. So she asked it, what's your name? Why are you here? Do you not want us here? And then you could hear this sound, which we had interpreted to be get out now. And
Oh
so she
wow.
sent it to me, and I was like, I totally hear it. Let's do this. And so she had this dog that was totally fine. But when she moved to this house, it barked constantly at me. Don't know why. So we exercised her house in the name of Jesus, and everything felt very normal again. And then the dog stopped barking at me. Successful. Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, that was it. It was just, I plead
Did
the
you
blood of Jesus over this house and get out Satan and all, you know what I mean?
did you
You
do
just,
the did you speak in tongues as a Pentecostal?
oh yeah, that was my bread and butter.
Can you still do it, or are you not
I mean,
really?
I gotta, like, you gotta get into the mindset, you
Well,
know?
people are asking us to do a speak in tongues
Oh, a
off.
tongues off.
Yeah,
Hey, I
I it's been a while.
It's yeah. So how so let me okay, I
Hang
gotta
on.
pray. I gotta pray, right? So Lord, please, Jesus, come into our
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
it'll sound like
yeah.
that. We're swear we're speaking Aramaic. Okay.
It feels it's one of those things where like I will say that there is a difference from when I do it like when I speak in tongues like that, and there have been moments where I've been like really caught up in the music of the time or
Oh
something,
yeah.
and then they come out kind of differently. Like it seems more kind of pronounced. It's almost you end up in this like
Mm.
hypnotic state. I have
Oh
had
yeah.
experiences like that. Yeah,
Like
someone
the
said,
bass.
should have bought a Honda, should have bought a Kia. The thing about that is,
Exactly.
we had we had Emily on Farrah Parker's wife come on, and she said that she never kind of she didn't speak in tongues or whatever, and I thought she was speaking in tongues. Should have bought a Honda, should have bought a Kia. So I start speaking in tongues like, oh yeah, and she's bantering. She didn't know much about me, and she's like, so you afterwards she's like, so you're an atheist, but you still find tongues useful? I'm like, what? No, I was just like playing along with you. And she's like, oh, I said should have bought a Honda, could have bought a Kia. And I was like, oh, and it's on Deep Drinks. You can watch the
Oh
interview.
no.
It's really
But I
funny,
bought a
yeah.
Kia.
She's like, she must have just been thinking like, who is this person that I've got on? Yeah. David still got it. Yeah.
That's it.
I am a bit iffy about doing that sometimes, just because I don't want to like offend anyone's. It's almost like drawing Muhammad, like it's almost like it's
Mm.
very sacred to some people, and I
Yeah.
hope that if people have lasted this long, I hope that they're not offended.
The way that I really liked to think about it is just like this is like the spirit speaking. And so it's this idea that I don't have to I can still pray without thinking of the words to say. And
Yeah,
that
yeah, exactly.
it was just like honoring God verbally without having to put it into English. It was
Yeah.
almost like a way to paint with sound, I guess, if that makes
Well,
sense.
like the way I always understood it was like the the like God had like, so the story of Moses, right? In the desert, right? God tells Moses, speak to the rock and it will pour forth water, and he doesn't. He hits it with his staff twice
Mm.
or once, and water pours out. And then God says to him, because you did that, you're never going to see the promised land, right? And the concept was, I used to say to people, even back then, God was trying to show us the power of our words, that we have life and death in the power of our tongue, right? And sometimes we don't know what to pray for. So then the Holy Spirit through us
Mm.
will communicate these things, because like I guess in the Pentecostal Christianity that I was a part of, like we believe that it wasn't God necessarily intervening on our behalf to like do something, but that he'd given us the Holy Spirit that we needed to command to go do things, right? Like that was like the concept. Like, so you go up to someone and say, like, if you raise them out of a wheelchair or whatever, or you do something like you pray for a healing, but God needed our action. So that's how I always understood it. Just to give the
Daniel
best faith interpretation.
is asking. I thought when someone spoke in tongues, there's supposed to be another person inspired with the translation. That not right?
Yeah.
That's 100% right. So the thing that I would do is we're all kind of we say slain in the spirit, and we're feeling the moving of the Holy Spirit. So we're all individually praying, and everyone's praying. So everyone's just kind of quietly praying. And that's when I would speak in tongues. It wasn't like a really out loud kind of thing. Most of us were speaking in tongues, right?
Yeah.
The only time that it was really translated is when somebody was doing it really loud, and they would go and like grab the mic and just start going for it, and then somebody would shout it like, oh, I am God and I say to my people, blah blah blah. So somebody would have to translate it, and I felt really frustrated with it, because I thought when that guy was speaking in tongues, I thought God was saying X, but then this person who's translating it is saying Y. Therefore, that person is just doing it for attention. They're not actually speaking of the Holy Spirit. They're not really there to translate. How dare they take this holy time and turn it into some vainglorious thing about themselves? Like, I was just really sour grapes about it. Not that I was going to translate or anything, but just I thought it was very, don't pray to be public. You know what I mean? Don't pray to look the best. We're all privately speaking in tongues. Why do you got to be the one that grabs the mic and has to go all for it, and then somebody else has to pray? Excuse me, I'm still praying over here. You know what I mean? Why do you get to shut down everybody and we all have to hush and listen to you go bubba dubba dubba dubba, and somebody else say, "I am the Lord who speaks to you." It was always a woman. Okay, never suffered to be speaking in church anyway. You know, so I don't know.
Before
I
we
wasn't
jump
a
on
pastor,
to
I was a bass player, so it's okay. Just the support of the band in the background.
the more I learn about you, we're new friends, so I don't know like a whole lot, but the more I learn about you, I'm like, the more I'm like, okay,
Hey,
half orc,
God
plays bass, like, you know, like cool stuff.
God
right?
put us in each other's lives. It's okay.
Yeah, that's it. We're just to this is a good time before we jump into the last section. Let me just get back here. I want people to go subscribe to Miss Lemon. She's got an amazing channel. Go check it out. You do some really cool stuff, including I responded. I responded. You do some food and drink challenges where what do? You ate expired protein bars, and
so
I responded with, "Are you okay? Because like, why are you doing this to yourself?" But you do it.
So I think in the middle of that video I was like, why is this my humor? So I'm not the type of person that gives like a whole lot of to do about it. I'm like, here's what we're doing, and then I smell it and this smells spoiled, and I'm like, well, and I just take a big bite and I'm chewing it. Only a couple times that I have to really spit anything out. I puked a little bit. It's not. It's like kind of off camera, so don't worry. It's nothing like that. But otherwise, I like to just try stuff. There's one that's like Korean snowflake strawberries, but there's another one that's like eating tarantula in Cambodia, which is it was so good. It was so good. I was like, this can't be terrible. People eat it. I do have some bugs that I have to eat. So I bought a bunch of bugs that I was going to do for a video, and I just haven't. So I'd like to do it. So I have a 5-day weekend coming up. But yeah, I really like those videos. This one, okay, the fire noodles one, they were so disappointing that I got hot sauce and just like sprayed it all over them. And it was, there's intestines and pig skin, there's chicken feet, like microwave intestines and microwave chicken feet.
So you've got essentially like, you know, science, religious thought, you know, psychology, and then you've got like gross mukbang, essentially. I love the diversity of your channel.
Also, we'd like to do it.
We're currently in talks about reading one of these together, these chit chats.
For sure.
Coming on and doing a reading, because you're a fan, and let me show you. I am a fan. I collect them. So this is a box full of. Hang on, let me. Just
I'm sure you gave them out at one point, right?
No, never. My mother had some, and I just got. I got hundreds of these.
Variety pack.
Yeah, I got a big variety pack, and they paid for half the postage because they thought I was doing ministry work. I was like, "Oh, you're gonna pay for half the postage."
Doing the Laura's work, yeah.
But
I received one, so I feel like it came full circle because I used to leave them everywhere, and then I got one from somebody in Finland. And let me just tell you, they thought that the U.S. Failed to be a religious country, that the U.S. wasn't religious enough because they changed how they pronounced Christmas, that it's not Christmas.
Yes.
That's why the U.S. is like the least religious Christian country.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Finland. I'm not sure if you've done this one, but there is one I really want to do on Dungeons and Dragons. Have you done that one yet? Oh,
let's do it. Let's get all the let's be orcs and just go for it.
Let's do. I'll do the prosthetics or whatever. But
whatever. Let's do this.
The Dungeons and Dragons episode, like the book, I only know the story a little bit. But essentially, like, people play Dungeons and Dragons. And then one person ends up taking it too far, and then her character dies, and she thinks, I may as well kill myself in real life.
That's it. Ultimate rage quit.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
yes,
was thinking about that just today, like how my mom was like, "Oh, you're gonna learn how to do the casting spells." I'm like, I learned how to roll dice and look up a chart.
yeah.
And I think that was part of it. Like I took everything so seriously that I wanted to investigate everything. And so when I investigated D&D, it was like really fun and very boring in that sense.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like magic. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a list, it's a chart. Oh, okay. But it was oh, you're gonna turn to the devil. And I'm just like, how? How could I turn to how? And so
Mhm.
these things were really frustrating to me because I felt like, we're just being those Christians. We're not being true Christians. We're just being reactionary. We're not looking into
Mm.
anything. I'll investigate deeper because I really want to build my relationship with God. And then some years later, goodbye.
Mm.
Oops,
I,
that didn't work out.
I remember. Like going through a really bad season of depression in my life, and I got introduced to weed at the age of this supple young age of 23 or 22.
Hmm.
And I was smoking weed with a friend in a garage, and this girl that I liked at the time was like, "Hey, why don't we go watch Hostel, a horror movie?" And I was like, thinking to myself, "I can't do that. I'll get influenced by demonic spirits." I'm sitting here
Mm-hmm.
smoking weed in a garage, like, where are my priorities? But yeah, the
That's
church
it.
teaches you some fun stuff. Also, you have a Twitter account, Miss
Yes,
Lemon here, and you post
that's
some
it.
fun stuff. This one's a good one today. This could be my mother. Um,
Mm.
Someone got a metal straw. I can't believe you. I hope they haven't influenced your faith in Jesus. Why does that have to do with my faith? You're changing towards the left.
Yep.
I just want to save sea
Yep.
turtles.
Yeah,
Um,
my downfall, according to my parents, was going to college because that's when they indoctrinate you with evolution.
yeah,
Since I was studying like civil engineering and stuff, all the
yeah,
evolution I had. I don't
yeah.
think I even took a biology class.
You just know the fun biology. So
Yeah, exactly. Cryptids. Yeah.
yeah, and just
That's
before
it.
we jump back into the conspiracy chart, I did want to
Mm.
shout out because this is what triggered me. You said marriage, right? Like the Bible. We next week we have, I believe she's a Christian, but Doctor doesn't really matter. Dr. Jennifer Bird on, and we're going
Doctor,
to be talking
doctor
about.
doesn't really matter.
Well, it doesn't matter if she's a Christian or not, but
Mm.
she writes about Christianity a lot, and she's a Bible scholar, and she talks
Mm.
about gender, sexuality, and marriage. We're going to have her on. She's going to be the last person we have on before we do the panel,
Oh,
which is
fantastic.
the panel of like biblical scholars will be talking
Mm.
about the slavery. So I want to give a shout out.
Yeah.
Make sure you come next week. It's going to be a good episode. I can't wait to pick her brain. She's been so gracious with her time. She came on to promote the stream. She's going to be on the panel, and she's going to be doing an episode with me all in within the space of 2 weeks. So I love Dr. Jennifer Bird. She is one of my new favorite people. All right, let's jump back into this conspiracy chart. Hey,
Yeah, let's do it.
should we cross the line, the last line?
Also, Wounded Monk mentioned creating a character in D&D was way too intense for me. By the way, when I was Christian, my deity was always Jesus.
Oh, really?
My friends accepted it. They just accepted it. And so one of them was like, whatever, my God's the Kool-Aid guy. So our DM was like, fine, you guys have like bonuses, a certain bonus. So then the Kool-Aid guy God got a bonus to bursting through walls. So like I roll to burst
Wow.
through a wall or something, and so he would get like a strength bonus.
I
That's
somehow
good. They were good. They really
I
put up
somehow
with me.
I once convinced I convinced my wife Amy to come on, and in the main campaign she played a fairy, but we did this one shot this one time where everyone could choose. It was just a one shot, so it's like one session or one or two sessions, and everyone could choose just anyone they wanted. And we had like some UFC boxer, we had someone who was Ariana Grande. My little brother, he chose to be Where's Wally, so he had like the
Okay.
DM let him have the ability to like make little circles and go through walls and stuff.
Okay.
And Amy, my wife, was Karen from she was played a bard, and she was Karen from Mean Girls. You know, the one who like can feel the weather with her boobs, and she does that like dance. So she would do that dance as the bard, and yeah, it was great. It was great. It's all recorded. So it was a real fun night.
Great. That sounds way awesome. Yeah, we got to definitely do the Dark Dungeons. That's the title of the Chick Tract. That is that one. Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay,
got, I
so
got, I got the best knowledge in here.
you do, you do. So I have, let's cross the anti-Semitic point of no return. And it's so
That's
funny how
right.
they all end up being anti-Semitic.
Spaghettification.
All right, here we go. So we have at the very top QAnon, Flat
Yep.
Earth, Sandy Hook fake, secret satanic rituals, Jewish space lasers, which I can't believe there's a representative in US politics that believes that. Like,
Mm.
ridiculous. Protocols of the Elders of Zion,
Yep.
Deep State,
Yep.
Nazis on the moon.
Yes, I know that one. Hang on,
Pizzagate.
is there Nazis that you wouldn't use the bell to travel through time? No, okay, that's there too.
Oh wow. Pizzagate, Rothschild Central Bank. A lot of a lot of my friends believe some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Nasara, I don't know what that is. George
I don't know what
Soros.
Nassar is either.
Illuminati, reptilian overlords, trans agenda.
Yeah.
So those are the trans investigators.
That's it.
Transvestigators, Holocaust denial, New World Order, adrenochrome.
Yep.
Cultural Marxism, the Great Replacement, George Floyd, crisis actor, Bill Gates, depopulation, Hollywood is turning your kids gay, and Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
The only one that I consider fun is Hollow Earth. The rest of them are actually just getting really sad. Like,
the ones that I don't get are the ones about like the depopulation. There's a few of those. They say it's from Agenda 24, I think it is, from something from the UN. And it's basically just this idea of like, hey, we need sustainable development and we don't know what that is, but do you guys maybe want to agree to that? And people are like, I guess whatever. That's all it is. But if you ask the people that believe in it, it's like they want to depopulate the planet to bring it down to 1 billion people, and they say that they want to control us and use us as like cogs in their machine to make money and depopulation. But if there's more of us, they would make more money. Why? I don't get like why would they why depopulate? I don't get it.
A lot of this is a lot of like why. Like I remember asking, why is the Earth flat why is the Earth flat, or why is the government trying to kill people and like with vaccines or whatever? And the only response I get is because they're evil, and they would like yell at me because they're evil. But what? But like, I don't know, it must be like they're inherently evil or something, and like because they're inherently evil they want to do evil things. Like I don't know.
So one person was asking about adrenochrome. So this is sort of if you go to the thing, and it's about the secret satanic cabal. So it's this belief that in the US government, it's run by a secret satanic cabal that through Pizzagate, which was supposed to be harming children, it was to harvest their blood, especially while they're scared, so they can take their adrenaline and convert it into adrenochrome and then ingest it or inject it into their blood or rub it on their skin. So that way they could, it's like an anti-aging thing, which adrenochrome exists. It doesn't do anything because it's like your body. It's like where my lifting nerds at, like creatine. One of the problems with creatine as a liquid, it's not very shelf stable. They may have made some progress since I've used it a lot, but I still use the powder. Because what happens is it converts into like it'll not denature, but it basically breaks down to creatinine, and your body doesn't use creatinine because your body breaks it down into creatinine too. Your body can use creatine, not creatinine. And it's the same thing. You can use adrenaline, but you can't use adrenochrome like in the way that they will explain it. So it's just like, what are you using it for? Why would you want adrenochrome? Just take adrenaline. Like, what do you...
Yeah.
just do Botox. Like if you want to do that, you're good. Like what's this that's a lot of work to not go to get Botox. You know what I mean? And have you seen our political people? They do not look young and youthful. They look kind of like, clownish,
There's a lot of people who believe they've heard audio of Hillary Clinton like killing and murdering children and stuff.
Oh,
and you're like,
that's the reason.
It's like it reminds me a little bit of that. Do you remember back in the day there was that the noises from hell, like thing going around? Do you ever hear that?
Was it one of the noises, like the deep water noise type thing?
Let me just share it. I did
Yeah.
it on my other channel. Let me see if I can find it. On youtube.com/@postfaith. We did this panel on hell, deconstructing the
Okay.
fear of hell. It was kind of like the first panel I ever ran ever,
Mm.
but we're now bringing them to deep drinks. But it's let me just find it. But there was this thing that was going on called oh, I might not have the actual I might not have it, sorry.
That's all right. Where did they say that they got it from? Like recorded it? Like somebody went to hell and sent it back?
Yeah,
Because there's some people that claim to have photos of heaven.
yeah, I think
You know?
let me just find yeah.
Oh, a Russian hole that they made 12 kilometers deep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it like screams? Is it pareidolia?
I'll play it if we can find it. It's from a movie, like it's the coal is super deep. Let me just see if this is it. Okay, it's so stupid. I hope this doesn't if you are like seriously now, if you are someone who's deconstructing your fear of hell or whatever, and this might trigger you, just don't listen for the next like 2 minutes. But yeah, it's it can be let me see if I can...
I'll do this when we're done listening to it.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
It is a bit spooky, but it's been totally debunked. It's like it's not
for sure.
it's not like a real thing. I've got like why would hell be why could you hear hell? Anyway, don't worry.
Hollow Earth, man.
All right, tell me if you can hear this. Can everyone hear this? Hang on. Can everyone hear that?
I heard something for half a sec, but not. I can't hear it.
Okay, let me just find a way to. I gotta present it in a specific way.
Right.
There we go. All right, now I'll have it. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is apparently the super deep borehole in Russia, the hell sounds, right?
I love the background.
So that's enough of that. But you can see people in the chat in the comments are like, holy shit, this is actually terrifying. Fun fact, they use the sound and put the Mr. Incredible. I don't know what that is, but there are people in here that actually believe this, like that actually think this is a real thing, real noises
That's
from hell.
unfortunate.
It's really not. It's from a movie. It's been like
it's not. When I heard it, I just thought like the Event Horizon.
Yeah,
you know?
but there are people out there who actually, they get tricked into believing that the world is out to kill them, that hell is real, that you're born in sin, and that Jesus is the only way out. Yeah, it sounds like Smithhaven Mall. So I have some questions for you. Actually, do we want to touch one last conspiracy theory? I feel like we got to touch one last conspiracy theory. Let me just...
So some people, I was looking up the NESARA. So it looks like it's, I don't have all the facts on it, but it's the National Economic Security and Recovery Act, and they had this like dove of oneness. So if I'm going to take a guess, it has to do with the government manipulating something about our money or economy in order to get like a new world order. This idea of like oneness. They don't like that.
Can I ask, why do you think people are scared of a one world government?
I think Christians are scared of a one world government because they believe it's like one step closer to the coming of the Antichrist, which for me, to tap back into my old Christian ways, that would have been great because then that means rapture like in 5 years.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
don't understand what the problem, like, what, do you not want to get raptured? Like,
But it's also, yeah, from like a pragmatic standpoint, like let's say it's like, all right, the whole world is united, we have these
yeah.
values, and I don't know, like,
But it's
I
like,
don't know, it
why
just
are you
seems like a,
scared of the rapture if you're like, don't you want the end of the world? Like that was the thing. We were always so excited about the end of the world
yeah.
and stuff. But it was weird. Like we would have stockpiles of food because of the mark of the beast, and you can't do any buying or selling if you don't take the mark of the beast. So we don't know when that's gonna
Oh,
come, but maybe it's gonna come in the year 2000. So we better stockpile tons and tons and tons of soup and stuff. Which okay, but like, aren't we supposed
ew.
to be raptured by then?
Yeah,
Did we
yeah.
forget that? So it's so weird. It's like how, I used to be kind of loose with some of my safety because I was just like, if I die, I get to go to heaven faster. So it
Mm,
was just, don't you want the new world order to happen? Like, don't isn't that what we want? So
yeah.
it just was kind of weird to me. Yeah, but that's what they're afraid of. If it's like the Christian conspiracy theory, that's what they're afraid of. They're also afraid of like the Jews controlling
Mm,
everything. The Jews are gonna put them into poverty, that kind of thing. Yeah, the
yeah.
JWs got real scared when the League of Nations and the UN formed. Absolutely. Even though don't they have like a library or something funded by the UN?
I don't know, but they've predicted the end of the world like about 50 times. It's silly.
Yeah.
Uh, sorry, go.
Oh, Nitty was saying, let Satan play so Jesus can have his day. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Melody Joyce said, "Rapture anxiety is real. The second and third chapters of Revelation is Jesus telling
Hmm.
the churches that what he's pissed about. I thought some Christians would be left behind."
Yeah, I was a little confused about the 144,000 until you realize, and then I did a reading of the Book of Enoch on my channel, and there's just one playlist for the Book of Enoch, so there, if anyone's interested. But it was really interesting because basically there's like a waiting room, and that's what Judgment Day is in Islam and in Christianity and Judaism too. Judgment Day is the day that God judges you, and then you go to afterlife. So you're not anywhere. That's why it's rest in peace, because they didn't believe your soul did anything when you died because it wasn't Judgment Day yet. So this idea of like the 144,000 at first didn't make sense to me, but then it's like, okay, they're going to heaven, the rest of us are going to new earth, which is why I didn't understand why my parents hated the JWs who's talked about the new earth. Isn't
Mm.
that isn't that what Revelation says? That's where we're going. So why are the JWs wrong for saying so? Why do you
Mm.
think we're not going to heaven? What are you talking about? It says
They were
right here
wrong
we're not
because they
going to
believe
heaven.
Jesus has died on a stake instead of a
On a
cross. So
stake.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't vegan. That's the
Yeah.
reason.
um, so something I've just lost my train of thought. Something that what was I going to say? It was super amazing and inspirational.
God's dangly bits.
Oh yes, it's interesting in Revelation. So just to touch on what Melody Joy was saying. So in Revelations, like it's well known in biblical scholarship that 666 is referencing Nero. Like it's like
Yeah.
well known, right? And like even in biblical prophecies, like biblical prophecies aren't supposed to happen. I think
Mm,
I'm not sure if there are like laws, but they're not supposed to take more than 2 generations, right? So like the story of Revelations, it's like it's done and gone. It's not going to
hmm
happen. It didn't happen. Not only
hmm
that, but like Jesus told his disciples that he would return in their lifetimes. It says it
Yeah.
as clear as day. If you can translate Jesus saying, "I tell you the truth, people standing here shall not taste death until they see all these things coming," and
Yeah.
"I tell you the truth, this generation shall not pass away until all these things happen." If you can
hmm
translate that to be, "I tell you the truth, this generation will pass away and all these things won't happen for 2,000 plus years."
hmm
If you can translate it to be the exact opposite, then why not say, "Oh, actually, when Jesus died on the cross, he actually didn't. He never went on the cross." It's the exact opposite of whatever it says. So it's not that Jesus is coming back. Jesus didn't come back.
Yeah.
Like the prophecy failed 2,000 years ago. Like he was supposed to return within his disciples' lifetime. Fight me, bring me on and debate me about this, because I'm very passionate about this. But yeah, there's just two things I want to mention about the end times and Revelations before we kind of close up.
Oh, for sure.
Sorry. So I always, Miss Lemon, you've been amazing to talk to, and it's been a very casual stream. I hope people have enjoyed it, especially all the new subscribers. Thank you for coming out. It's been really awesome. I ask guests at the end some questions, and I ask them like kind of repeating questions. And I've got a list of questions that I kind of do, and they're kind of questions that I ponder and things. But the deep questions, deep drinks, deep questions. Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
So here's the first one. Okay.
No more cryptids.
Regarding, we'll talk about, I guess, your most foundational beliefs. I guess, like, we'll talk about your God belief. Okay. I'll ask this question in relation to your God belief. What, if anything, would change your mind?
I know there's that question, or that answer that people give that has to do with oh, well, if God's real, he would know. I think it's if I don't have a problem if we kind of figure out what a God is. Like if we could find a thing that created us, for example, whatever that is, and we say, yeah, that's our creator God. Like if it's a programmer or something, if we do live in a simulation, right, which is what tier 2 or something on that conspiracy list. I would say, hey, programmer, can you program a fresh beer? And then a fresh beer shows up. It'd be like, oh, okay, well, programmer, can you program me seated, but like a meter up, and then I'm a meter up? I would say the program was real. You know what I mean? This wouldn't be like Yahweh of the Torah. This would be whatever we decided was like whatever created us. So I think anything that we can interact with in that way that could prove that it has this ability to totally manipulate our reality in a way that we absolutely can't on command, then I think that would be enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know the analogy of the, I think it's Carl Sagan's analogy of the dragon in the garage? Have you heard about that?
The one where it's like the invisible dragon, like I don't show it to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like just for everyone listening. So the concept is essentially like, if there's a dragon, like if I say to you, like, hey, I've got a dragon in my garage, and you're like, let's go see it. And we go in and then there's nothing there. And I say, oh, it's invisible. And you say, oh, let me put powder on the floor so we can see its footsteps. And we go, oh, you can't, oh, actually, it can't move. It can't move. It can't make footsteps. It's invisible and it can't make footsteps. It's like, well, I'll touch it. Well, actually, it flies around the room to every different corner of the room, so you can never actually touch it. It's like, well, let's use a heat gun to see. It's like, actually, the fire that it produces is actually the same temperature as the air. Eventually, you get so far in that you do so many investigations that a room with a dragon looks exactly the same as a room without a dragon. And I feel like that's the same when it comes to the God belief. Like we've got, where do you think the sun goes at night? And then it's like we start to explain more and more of the universe, and it's like eventually, like we no longer need God to explain this. Of course, we don't have answers to questions like, where did everything come from? But before, even if before is a sensical word for before the Big Bang, how did life first start? But it doesn't seem likely to me, at least, that the answer is God. There's too many leaps in logic there.
I think,
and it seems intellectually lazy to just go God. Like it seems intellectually lazy.
I think in my case, it's just, well, why did we assume God? Like it's like, okay, well, because I'm talking to some people on this Muslim channel. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's on Instagram too. And I'm just asking the question of, well, why do we assume that Allah is the one that makes the babies form and keeps the birds afloat, that kind of stuff. And they explain, well, because we have faith, or that it says so in the Quran and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, well, yeah, but why did we assume that, especially with this idea of like the Abrahamic God, which is inherently intangible and unknowable in so many ways on purpose? if we don't know God, and we that's part of his defining trait is we don't know him, then how can we say all the things that he does and has his hands in if we also say we have no idea what he's doing? That just
Mm.
never made sense to me. Well, he works in mysterious ways, but I know he made this thing happen. Well, how do you know that? Even as a Christian, that didn't make sense to me. It's like, well, and I didn't understand like the purpose of praying for stuff, because it's like, oh Lord, but your will be done. Okay, well, if I'm going to say that, girl, then why am I praying? His
Yeah.
will's going to be done anyway, as regardless if I say so or not. I don't have any control over God, so what am I praying for? So
Yeah.
none of this just kind of started to fall apart when I really wanted to understand it better, and it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So it's like, how could God be inherently unknowable, but I'm going to tell you all this stuff that he totally does? How do
Mm.
I know that? Because I know. Well, how do you know? Well, because it says. Well, I mean, how did the person who wrote it down know? Because God says. How do you know it's God? How do you know it wasn't Satan tricking the person and it's
Mm.
totally not true? How do we know that? you know
What are your thoughts on, like, because I imagine as a Pentecostal Christian you would say that you experienced God,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That you
Yeah.
felt the presence of God.
Oh
So what
yes.
is your thoughts around that? Like now, like looking back, do you think it was like a little bit of placebo or hysteria or like a hypnotic state that you get put in?
um Yeah, I think it's expecting something to happen. So you get so worked up about it that it does kind of happen. A really good example of it is we went to, you remember Benny Hinn?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my grandmother had a knee problem and she was Catholic. So we took her to this Benny Hinn event, and she got out of her wheelchair and she was on stage, and he was like, "Oh, and the power of," and then touched her, and she just stepped back a little bit. And so he pushed her a little bit harder and she stumbled back again. And she does it a third time. She stumbles again. So they just take her off. And I look at my mom like,
3 times and you're out.
yeah, yeah. And I'm like, how come God didn't cure grandma? How come she didn't fall down? And mom said this thing. I don't think she realized what this did to me. She said, grandma didn't fall down because she didn't know she had to fall down. But I thought the power of
Ooh.
God knocked you over. And I was like a child at
Yeah.
this point. So that was really, really weird, but I think that really explains it well. We kind of behave in a way that I've even heard other people who went to Pentecostal churches and didn't, and like they got pulled into the line to be like touched by the power of God, and they didn't feel anything, but they still fell down because they were really worried, like what's going to happen to, like, am I going to be sacrificed if they don't do it? So then you see as a Pentecostal, oh, the power of God is so powerful that even this atheist who's here for the first time, even that atheist fell down with the power of God. Oh, and so you get even more worked up. um
But the
and
thing the
I think
thing
you just, yeah,
is,
you
I
work yourself into a tizzy or a frenzy.
I don't understand how the presence of God, like, so when you say presence, we're talking about, like, you have to unpack that a little bit. And sorry, we're going a
Mhm,
little bit over time, everyone, but this is a bit of a casual stream, like I mentioned, and I hope everyone's having a good time. But where, like, the presence of God, so God is literally in the room, like his presence is there. How can someone not experience the presence of the
mhm,
creator of the universe? You can't just say to me, like, oh, well, their hearts were closed off. Well,
right.
how come my heart can be closed off to the presence of God? Like, if I go to heaven when I die and my heart's closed off, can I just not
Mhm,
experience heaven? And like it just seems weird to me. It paints God to be small. Do you know what I mean?
mhm,
Like,
mhm.
um,
Yeah, eventually I got really burned out on this idea of church because of what it said in like First Corinthians 1:10, be ye of one mind, brethren, and let there be no divisions among you. And I really took that to heart. I mean, even reading that as a 16-year-old and being 41 and still being able to just quote it right away, you
mm,
can see how much I took that to heart. I thought, well, then why are we here? And in this church as Pentecostals, I started really questioning that, and why did the pastor have to explain to me his thoughts about disparate verses put together and to make a message about today's politics? I'm here to learn about God. I'm here to learn about the history of my religion. I'm here to learn about what God has done and prophecy. I'm not here to listen to what you think about church gossip.
Mm.
And I just thought this was really weird. Why are we picking 2 verses and then the rest of the hour is you talking? Like, how come
Mm.
we're not reading out of the Bible? And if we're not reading
Yeah.
out of the Bible, then how come I'm not reading out of the Bible? And then, well, wait a minute, Paul didn't have a Bible. Moses didn't have a Bible. They just had a direct connection with God. So what's even the purpose of the Bible? So once I had been reading the Bible and I'm like, I don't really get this, and I was reaching out asking for help and stuff. One of the problems I had was about Moses and how the Spirit of God sought to kill him. And so he ran into his house, and his wife like circumcised their baby real fast and like threw the foreskin on Moses' feet. And God was like, whoa, foreskin. Okay, I won't kill you now. And I was like, what does
Yeah.
this doesn't make sense?
I don't
If
remember
God's
that
gonna
part.
yeah, it's like if God's gonna kill Moses, then isn't he gonna kill him? If he sought to kill him, he's gonna kill him. And the pastor said,
Yeah.
oh, you're absolutely right. But you have to remember, God didn't write the Bible. Moses wrote this part. And so from Moses's perspective, that's what God was doing because
Yeah.
he felt really guilty. And I was like, well, wait a minute. From
Yeah.
somebody's perspective, wait, because from somebody else's perspective, the Hurricane Katrina killed people because they were evil. Whoa. What do you mean
Ah.
the Bible's from somebody else's perspective? And so that's when I thought, when all this stuff wasn't making sense to me when I was studying the Bible, it's because it's filtered through some idiot. Well, okay, I'll just get rid of the Bible and then I'll just have a direct connection with God. I don't need the Bible. Moses didn't need the Bible. Paul didn't need the Bible. Lee don't need the Bible either. So I'm the Christian that's like got the connection with God. Like I thought I was getting closer to God this whole time. I was like becoming more and more an atheist. My mom was really upset, and I tried to explain it to her, and she just was so upset about it. Yeah, it was
Wow.
really ridiculous. Yeah.
That's incredible. Ryan said, "Why would God harden Pharaoh's heart?"
Mm.
Excuse me, you're not allowed to ask questions like that. They're too logical. No, I'll tell you the answer. I know the answer to this.
Yeah, there's an answer.
And
There's an
yeah,
answer.
the answer is we can ask him when we meet him.
Oh. No, the answer was so he could perform his miracles to show the people of Egypt that he is God, which to me was always, well, how come he doesn't like fill everyone's belly with food to show that he's God? How come he doesn't like pyramids built to show he's God? Why is it got to be like murdering the children? And like, why is that the power he's going to show? Like, if I'm going to show a power and I can do anything, you're all getting a cat. Like, just boom, everyone's got the best cat. I'm not going to like kill all the cats. Why would I do that? This is so
Yeah,
ridiculous. Like, oh, you guys are working really hard in the field, locusts. Like, oh,
yeah,
you're taking care of your skin, doing the skincare, little Egyptian boils. Like, why would I do
yeah.
that? How is that showing my power?
A big thing for me is animal suffering. Like like something. It's like a lot of Christians will go, oh well, suffering is bad, but you have to take in the whole Christian worldview, which is that you get to go to heaven afterwards. Well, not animals, and animals like suffer like incredibly.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Josh, panelist, said, can I be honest, Deep Drinks podcast? I think the reason Yahweh almost killed Moses was because he failed to ground the instantiation of necessary preconditions of ultimacy. So
Duh,
that's a meme. That's a meme that he always posts. Okay. So just quickly, I keep saying quickly, but this stream keeps going
That's all
on. I'm
right.
just
I
having a
don't.
great
I
time.
mean, I'm not upset.
Awesome.
I don't have
There's
to pee yet.
That's good. I've got 2 more questions, but just to touch on the placebo effect. This is a clip from Vsauce's Minefield, right? And this clip actually changed my my wife Amy's perspective. So she watched this and then she thought to herself, what if the things that I experienced in church was just this? So I don't think I can play the audio because it's like premium content, but this person has been told that they're going to have a new type of non-invasive surgery which looks inside of them with a special laser and measures their bone density, right? And they've been primed with all this information, and it's just a laser pointer pen, no heat, nothing. But
Right.
they've put them in this room, they've like done everything up, they've put crisis actors in there, and they get them to describe the pain levels. And these actors, they're not these actors, these people say they go up to level 9. They say it's almost the most excruciating pain I've ever felt, and it's all just nocebo, such placebo effect.
Yeah.
And it was happened time and time again. You prime someone
Oh yeah.
and they're crying,
Mm,
and they can't even, like, even after some people, even after they were told it was placebo, they
mm.
couldn't stop feeling the pain, and it
Yeah.
was just a
Yeah.
simple laser pointer pen with no ability to cause
Right.
heat or distress in any
Right.
way.
Mm.
Incredible what your mind can do when you have been
Oh,
primed to believe something.
100%.
Mm.
100%. You know, and I mean, it's really amazing in the one, factor. Like I had a mild concussion. I had a couple of them, but this one was it really affected my taste. And we think about taste being located in the tongue. No, it's located in the brain. We
Mm.
think of touch located on the finger. It's located in your brain. And that's where we kind of
Interesting.
forget. You know what I mean? Like it's we don't
Yeah.
really think of it that way. But that's where it is. And so it's it, it's it's amazing how we can do this to ourselves. um it's powerful if you can trick yourself sometimes, because like when I get, my cats are fighting, when I get like a really bad migraine and stuff, because I get these chronic migraines, I tell myself, all right, this pill will only take 5 minutes to work, even though I know it doesn't. And I'm like, yep,
Mm.
I can feel it. Oh, I can feel it. It's tingling. And like I tell myself all of this just to try to tap into that a little bit. But
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to trick yourself when you know the trick. Um, but yeah, that's definitely where this comes from, is you're really just really expecting it. I did something like that with my students too. I took food coloring and I told them that I got a bunch of different sprites imported from the US and I wanted them to guess the flavor. So I did one was just Sprite, and then the other one was red Sprite, orange Sprite, and purple Sprite. And the students, there were only three of them, and what they disagreed what it was supposed to be, but the third student kept saying, I don't really taste anything. I think this just tastes like Sprite. And the other ones were like, are you kidding? This is strawberry. Oh, you're stupid. This is obviously cherry flavored. Oh my God. Can you not taste it? Even the purple one, they were like, oh, this is cola flavored Sprite. No, what are you talking about? It's grape flavored Sprite. I had no idea someone would say cola. I thought they both would say grape. Oh, it tastes like medicine. So, nope, just cola versus grape. The other one was like, it just tastes like Sprite to
What
me.
a I'm
It
gonna
was
get my
mm,
conspiracy theory friends around it. I'm gonna do this experiment. I'm gonna like go and be like, all right, like let's see how your perceptions go. Um, yeah, wow, that's brilliant. You're a great teacher, I can tell.
thanks.
Um,
It was a lot of fun. But the big problem, like watching those people cry and they were having trouble even after they were told it was a placebo. That's kind of going back to what I said about how we don't question our perception too much. I know
mm,
what I felt. Yeah, you felt your brain being tricked, but we don't accept that. I know that I wouldn't do this. I'm not that stupid. People think it's not stupid. It's a human, totally human thing. Placebo effect,
mm.
but it's very ridiculous. Yeah.
It's yeah, and I wish I knew more about it, but
Hmm.
second question, second
Mm.
last question. What is the most plausibly true religion that you don't believe in?
Plausibly true in which way? In which way? What do you mean?
Well, just plausibly true, like plausibly accurate representation of reality. So it's a good. Let me tell you why
Okay.
my question
Okay.
is a great
Yeah.
question,
Okay.
because Christians can answer this and Hindus can answer this, because they have to choose the religion that's second most likely to be true.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm guessing they would say like Islam and stuff, because that's what I would have said as a Christian, or Judaism, or Jews for Jesus. But yeah, I think you know what?
I'll tell you their answers in a second.
I'm gonna be weird. And I'm not being funny. It's the star seeds, that belief that people think that they are different alien souls being placed into human bodies to have a shared experience on this planet, encountering other beings. I just feel like if aliens exist, this would sort of be like that movie, what's it called? um what's the movie? It was Bruce Willis, and they they had like avatars that they walked around in. It starts with an
I'm
S,
not sure.
synthetic or something. I'm sure somebody knows what I'm talking about. I just watched it like 2 weeks ago. But basically, so you could afford to have a robot like version of you that looked better and stuff, and so you would. It was like VR, but you had this robot like walking around, and you can feel the sensations it felt and stuff. I feel like that seems plausible for an alien race to do, and so that to me just seems the most likely that we would be aliens just chilling on a planet that we decided to hang out, like, oh yeah, like let's meet, this is our Discord server is Earth, and we're all just like trapped in these human bodies just as a joke, like Sims or something, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
just we just chose to do it, but we forgot. um to me, I guess
That's
that would be
interesting.
the most yeah.
That's interesting. Most people that I've asked that are Christian, like Michael Jones said Buddhism, I think. A lot of them say Buddhism. Most people say Buddhism because I think it's the most non-theistic of the religions. I think you can be a
It
Buddhist and not believe
depends.
in God.
Yeah, it depends on which version of Buddhism, I would
Yeah,
say.
there's some very. What I do like is I do like Buddhist hell, because there is a version of Buddhism that has
Yeah,
hell,
that's
but their
yeah.
hell is a temporary place that helps you burn off the karma if you couldn't do it. That's kind
Hmm.
of cool. That's kind of horrible. Still horrible. Definitely not a good thing. But it's better
Yeah.
than eternal punishment for finite crimes. At least
By
there's
the way,
an
the
end
movie
goal.
the movie Surrogates, by the way,
Ah,
that's what it
surrogates.
was.
Okay.
Surrogates, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Um,
Mega Nuts says Surrogates too. Okay, good. Yeah, it's the Buddhism one, you still got to go with the idea of a soul. You got to go with this idea of like a karma tracker. Um I don't know. To me, that's just religion minus a god sometimes. You know what I
hmm.
mean? And it seems very selfish, the way that I interpret a lot of the Buddhist practices about like
That's
not.
interesting.
Yeah, like the whole
It's
idea is that to separate yourself from society and not leave a positive or negative karma footprint, essentially. So you're just kind of by
mm,
yourself doing your own thing. You don't contribute to society anymore. You're just by yourself meditating, and hopefully you can meditate yourself to death, and that's
mm.
enlightenment. It just seems very self-seeking to me.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
a
know.
good point.
It just to me, it just, and they're still against gay people for some reason. Just really weird. So yeah,
Ah,
that's why
man.
the starseed thing, just like, there were a bunch of alien surrogates. It
So
just
it's kind
seems
of like
like
stuff,
sci.
kind of like Scientology. So you're a Scientologist?
No, yeah. No, so this idea would be more like the movie Surrogates. Like we all
Okay.
agreed to do this. The Thetans is more like a bunch of alien souls possessed, like Neanderthals, and humanized us in a way, and we got to get rid of them.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
interesting.
feel like this is more sci-fi than religion, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no.
that's just how I see
Yeah.
it.
I can
Yeah.
see I can see how that could be almost the most plausibly true religion, because as we get more technologically advanced, you can see, it easily creating a reality like that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
last question, last deep drinks question.
Hmm.
What is the best advice you have ever been given?
The best advice. I don't know. Do you have a best advice? So I can, because that's a
Hmm.
big one, because there's like
Yeah,
advice for different situations and stuff.
yeah, it
Um,
is a big one. I think the I guess it's not advice, it's a quote from David Hume,
hmm.
but I think, or we can rephrase it if you're stuck with that one, because
Hmm.
not necessarily, these aren't necessarily to get an answer; they're just more to spark
Right.
introspective thought process.
Hmm. Hmm.
But um, if you could give yourself advice, when you were deconstructing or
Hmm.
questioning your faith, what would you say if you could go back in time and give yourself
Yeah,
advice?
I think if what would have helped me faster would be to just start from neutral and follow the evidence. And I think that's what took so long, because it took me like 8 years to deconvert. And eventually I realized I didn't want to let go of the spiritual experiences that I had. until I realized that they were spiritual experiences only because I had assumed the spiritual existed. And even like in and of themselves, it wasn't a spiritual, like it didn't point to it. Like if I took a person who didn't have that assumption that that the spiritual realm existed, they would never assume, oh yeah, that's evidence of the spiritual. It would just be like, why do you think that's evidence of the spiritual? And that's when I had to realize, wait a minute, what am I doing? The advice I give to my students, though, is life sucks and then you die. You got to make the fun while you're here. So, because sometimes they kind of laugh at me for being like a dork, sometimes. And I'm like, listen, life is just going to keep sending you just negative stuff. Like life is just going to keep happening to you. If you can find happiness dressing a little funny, just do it. Laugh at your own jokes, make the world a place you want to live in, because it's not going to happen by itself. That's why I tell my students, there's no shame in being a little bit weird. As long as you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting anybody else, have fun. Don't be ashamed. If somebody else is staring at you kind of weird, it's because you're the most interesting thing that happened in their day. How pathetic. Like I had green lipstick on and this lady was like staring at me, and all I could think was, how pathetic is her life that somebody having green lipstick on is the most obscene thing she's encountered today. What a boring life she must have,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you feel like mind reading, because some of the students do that, they're like, oh, people think of me negatively. I guess, the best advice was from my therapist. If you're going to pretend that you can read people's minds, make it good. You don't know if they're staring at you because they think that you're ugly, or if they're staring at you because they think you look like Lady Gaga. So go with the second one. They think you're a celebrity. Do it.
That's actually great advice. That's something that your first part of advice there was really touched home for me, because for me, like where I am now would have been the worst nightmare for my younger Christian self. And for me to become that younger Christian self now is my worst nightmare now. And I was always chasing this, when I get there, I'll be happy. I realized, like, in my older age, I'm now 33. When
I'm like almost 10 years older than you.
You don't look it, but when
Asian don't raisin, man. Asian don't raisin. What's gonna happen?
I realized that you got to have fun in the meantime. Like I'm not where I want to be. That's the point of growth. But like, try and enjoy the ride, right?
Right.
And also, money is great. Like, don't be poor. Like, I know that's like that sounds really bad, but essentially, like, I'm not rich by any means, but the most depressed moments of my life were when I was like when I was turning down shifts and being like, and just getting by, like, bill after bill after bill. Having money really, like, having the ability to be financially stable was like such a huge game changer in my mental health, and like for a long period of time. So like, spend a year where you don't have to look at your bank account to see if you can go out to buy food. You can just go out and buy food and not have to worry about it, because all your bills are sorted and you've been saving money.
Yeah. One piece of advice I have, if somebody's feeling like ending their life, sleep on it. You can kill yourself tomorrow. That, and that's the thing, is that, it's like, as long as I deal with this, if it's still worse by the weekend, I can just do it then. But if you're gonna do it, make it good, so go live in the damn forest, disconnect from the rest of reality, and go live in like the mountains of Nepal. Oh, you don't want to do that yet? That sounds like a lot of suffering and stuff. Maybe you're not ready to die yet then. And so that's kind of how I think about it. But it's like, you can do it tomorrow, you can do it over the weekend. Do you have to do it right this second? Just wait. Just you've always have felt better. You always had that feeling, and then it goes away.
There's
it'll go away again.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, where our brains can trick us so much. If there is anyone who is struggling, just as you mentioned that, if there is anyone who is struggling with mental health issues or thoughts of suicide or anything, please reach out to someone. Go see a therapist. Like, it is super important. I see a therapist, nothing to be ashamed of.
There's nothing wrong with it. If you had diabetes, you go see a doctor and get some insulin and stuff. Why is it any different? Because the organ's in your skull.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not.
Exactly.
It's not doing the right thing with the chemistry. It's a problem.
I think people should go to therapy. Like, I'm an advocate that people should go to therapy just when they're fine. Yeah. So just as we wrap up, I just want to share your channel one more time. Go just subscribe to Miss Lemon. Content is awesome. And in 2 weeks, we have the biggest panel in the world. This will be the go-to. This is the biggest panel in the world ever been done.
Great.
Nobel laureates are going to be looking at this going,
so these are like all the guys that know the most about slavery. They're like the slave masters.
Yeah, they are the slave masters. This is going to be the panel to end all panels on this discussion. There's going to be a million clips of this. So every time someone gives you some really bad apologetics for why the slavery in the Bible was nice, tickly slavery, it was cool, you can just clip them a section of this interview. We've got 5 Bible scholars with expertise in this area who read the original Hebrew, Akkadian, Syriac, all that kind of stuff. This is the stream. So keep an eye out for that. This is going to be huge. Tell everyone that you possibly know, and we're going to be bringing to task bad apologetics. So with that said, thank you, Miss Lemon, so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And I'd love to can't wait to come on your channel and do the reading and of this.
We're gonna have so much fun with this. Yes, hail Gygax. All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks
See you
so much
guys.
for joining us. Bye.